The following is a real conversation that takes place in the greater Fade arc of Everquest between Hanoko and RPMMORadio's Strophe, word for word. The names have not been changed to protect the stupid. Please do not heal, not buff, heal, or help me in any way. Thank you. Please do not buff, heal, or help me in any way. Thank you. Please do not buff, heal, or help me in any way. Thank you.
Wow. Okay.
I'm going to send this guy a tell. Learn to read your chat box, Plix.
What is this? Oh. Didn't see your spam till after. Have a good time.
Had you quit casting, I would have quit hitting the hot button that you chose to ignore.
Is this Fetcher serious? Weird, man. Just weird. Have a good one.
It's called hardcore mode. Sadly, you lack the manners to ask before throwing buffs on people who might not want them, and the sense to watch your chat box while doing it.
Seriously, this is happening? Whatever generates your Mass Effect feel.
My guild forbids all forms of PL and twinking. I'm not tagged at the moment because this is a new care and an officer hasn't logged in today. Anyway, obviously, you don't respect other playstyles. Hopefully, you'll remember me and not pull those sorts of stunts again. At least in my case. If you just read your chat, we wouldn't have much of a problem. But you're lazy.
Oh, this is getting real. All right, let the games begin. You are way too upset from a random level 20 AC buff. As I said, I didn't see your spam till after.
You didn't see the spam because you refused to read your chat box. That is on you. Ever consider asking before casting spells on someone? Once you cast the first buff, I hit the hot button. You ignored it and kept casting like a jerk.
Dude, really?
In fact, I hit the hot button immediately when you started casting the first buff. Had you paid attention, you could have interrupted, but you finished the spell and cast spell 2. Very inattentive. Like I said, ask first. I didn't want your buffs. They are not welcome. Don't do it again.
So click it off. What's the big deal? I mean, honest mistake. Have a great evening.
Honest, perhaps, but negligent playing. You refuse to read your chat box and just kept casting.
I have her now. Welcome to Ignore Hanoko.
System, you have added Hanoko to your ignore list.
You're listening to RPMMORadio.
Does internet porn know you're cheating on it?
Where entertainment and roleplay in MMORPGs have little hybrid mutant babies.
Make a note of this. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, dishonor on your whole family.
And now, here's your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Civ, Jazz, Strophe, and Yunfei.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players! Welcome to the 95th episode of RPMMORadio Community Feelings. I, of course, am your host, Ashen Phoenix, and with me tonight is my entire crew, Jazz, Sib, Strophe, and Yunfei. Well, almost the entire crew. Rahanar is not here, our call screener, but we are thinking of him.
Longingly thinking of him.
Mostly in the bikini.
I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but hey.
Okay, so before we even get going on any of this, what we just read, that was a screenshotted conversation between our Strophe and some random wacko in the Everquest.
True story. Project 1999 EQ1. This high elf was just hanging out at the zone line between Butcher Block Mountains and Greater Fae. and I saw her naked with her enchanter pet trying to kill this orc centurion. And I'm a level 20 paladin, so I just hit her with center and
A whole
whatever
level
else.
20, huh? Wow, that must have been some game.
It was actually a level 18 buff. I didn't realize until later.
That was a game-breaking buff, really. I mean, you basically were power leveling him at that point.
I mean, this person just lost her Kool-Aid, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna see how far this trollery can go. She woke up the Gormal, and hey, what can I say?
Like, you really weren't even being all that bad. It just wasn't ever. Whatever you said was not going to be good enough. It was insane.
And I kept giving her outs, like, have a good night. Sorry. And I never apologized. Like, well, all right, cool. Well, have a good night. And she just kept going. I was like, all right.
Yeah, and you didn't even do what I did, which would have been, have a good night, moron. You went the Christian route.
You were much nicer because I would have started casting spells on her.
That was my thought. I would have gone back. I saw in the screenshot that you had zoned out. I would have zoned back in and just followed them, casting buff after buff after buff.
See, that's the consensus, and I was on my High Elf Paladin. Had I been on Gormal Direfear, my Troll Shaman, I would have been like, I would already been in troll mode anyway. I'd have been like, oh, hey, come here. I'm going to buff you. I'm going to steal you. I'm going to buff you again. I'm going to strength buff you. Spirit of Snake. And I just kept trolling him. Like,
I'm going to buff you so
hard.
I'm going to buff you so hard, we're going to put this on Pornhub.
She got lucky I was on my High Elf. That's all I'm going to say.
It was such a good read. Yeah, we just copied it over. He said the lines he read was exactly what he said, and the lines I read was exactly word for word what were in the screenshots.
Should I post the screenshots?
You should post the screenshots just so they can read through and know that I mean, we try to be creative. We're all pretty creative writing people here. I honestly don't think if we had tried to come up with that, we would have been like, nah, no one's going to believe that. No one's going to believe we made that kind of thing up. That's just that kind of person. We know they exist, but it's just too ridiculous. There's no way anyone would buy that kind of stupidity. And yet...
that's extra special right there.
Yeah, that's a special kind of... I mean, and for one, their guild forbids power level in twinking. Getting a buff isn't power leveling. No,
getting a buff from a level 20 by accident is not power leveling.
Getting a buff from anybody.
Yeah.
And Ashen, you can back me up on that. In EQ1 Live, like back in the day, you would just get random buffs from people running by, and you loved it. You're like, oh, hey, thanks.
Oh, man, yeah. And it wasn't a power level. And it wasn't... A power level is like when Sib and I were in a game, or when we got like Everquest 2, and I already had like hot max level character, and we're like, let's get her up to it. So we would group together, and we would go kill things like 40 levels above her.
Yeah.
And she would get like 8 levels in one kill. That's a power leveling. I don't know what this person thinks power level. Twinking, I get, which I haven't heard that.
I mean, maybe they're just really young or autistic, and they just...
I guess.
There has been a rash of some cult-like guilds that have creeped into Project 1999, and I think this is one of them, because later, when I told my little brother what was going on, he wanted to go pull the Ashen and Jazz around and go buff him to the hill and chase him around. And he said, look, dude, they're in Kinos Hills right now. I was like, well, if they were like against hardcore mode, how did she get all the way to the other side of the continent? Mm-hmm. But hey, it's probably a port, but that's probably power leveling. But I digress.
Right. Oh, I can't accept that. I can't accept that teleport. I've got to take the ferry all the way and spend the next hour and a half going from Freeport to Kinos. It's just, I don't.
It was madness, but they were out there.
Yeah, and what's sad is, aside from being just highly entertaining for anybody that's ever played an MMO, there's role players that act like this too. It's like, oh, come on. It's calmed down. All we did, it was a slip of the tongue. We didn't mean to, I'm sorry we didn't put tries to. We just thought it was implied through the, norms of the English language when we didn't say it actually happened.
Don't get me started on that.
Yeah, the people, when you, everything must be an attempt. Well, just saying swings for your head, that is an attempt.
Because you can dodge that.
Right. It doesn't have to say attempts to swing for your head. It's implied in there. It's use your brain. It's that fatty lump about 2.5 feet above your ass. That's what's encased in that skull of yours. So
I've had people jump on me for that, and it's like, so English isn't your first language. What's that supposed to mean?
actually, it's
Never
for
mind.
me. I'm like, yeah, bad English is actually my first language. Good English is middling at best.
You know,
Isn't that a
the
rock
most
band, bad English?
What's that?
Is
the
it
most oh, sorry, Sibs.
band,
She's
bad
really
English?
quiet.
Yeah,
I
you
can't
gotta
hear her.
get close, baby.
Sorry.
You're breaking up.
I'm here. I promise. But no, isn't bad English a rock band or something?
Actually, I think you might be right.
I think you are right.
Yeah.
Actually.
The best thing to happen to all
Rock
this
band.
mess about the triggery whoever
Mhm.
that player was Ashton's comments right after this. It's like, dude, even when you're being nice, you're a troll. And I was like, that is the best thing I've heard all year.
It really was. You weren't even you went the good Christian boy route. Jesus right now is looking down at you in that moment and saying, "I'm proud of you, my son." And then they looked at the other person and said, sometimes a flood just sounds like such a good idea. I mean,
I kept turning the other cheek, and I was like, but I gotta admit, I started baiting them into it, and I'm like, they're about to get the ignore list.
At one point, I mean, you gave them 3 outs before you're like, okay, you know what? Game on, son.
Yep, they woke up Gormal, and I had to call him, and he was hanging out.
Yeah.
I don't know where he was hanging out.
You don't
Jessica
wanna
was in
know.
the truck. It was bad. I mean,
Yeah.
but he showed up. He did the deal and everything.
Man. So, all right. Well, with that, we got quite a bit to get to today. One quick, kind of quick, I guess, thing is we're nearing episode 100, and given that it's hard to keep going, episode 100 will probably be, for a good deal of time, the last episode of RPMMORadio. We'll kind of be shuttering it. We won't be getting out of podcasting, but I want to kind of redo the show in the form of something more generalized. MMOs, video games, pop culture stuff that we all like to talk about. We all, life in general, because that's, as previously said, that's a fucking shit show in of itself at times. But yeah, we want to get to 100. 100 feels like a good thing, but it may not entirely die, because I know Jazz has shown interest, and it may not be quite the same format, but I am more than happy to give the reins over to her. But it will take her time, because she will be like I was, learning from scratch. At least she'll have somebody to help her.
Yeah.
Not
I
have to
learn
Google
all
search
of this
everything.
stuff, and we didn't get a chance while I was there.
Yeah, which, by the way, that was another big thing. We met each other in real life for the first
for
time
the first time ever.
since, I think we've known each other since 2005-ish, 2006-ish.
I believe we met in 6, because I
6.
started playing the game in 5, but I switched
Okay.
to Bale,
Yeah.
and I made Silver Circle in November of 2005, and I don't think I met Xanis until
Wow.
Kinda
I've never even
Zach.
been a Zach. I don't even know.
Yeah. I've had a very, very long day, and I'm now
Yes.
drinking wine. That should help.
And you have multiple kids, so you
Yeah.
probably go through everybody's name until
Yes,
you
I
get
do.
to the
I
one
did that
you-
yesterday. I said all 3 names before I got to him,
My-
and he's like, "Mom, seriously?"
My grandma,
I've had a bad day. You
Mama
need to
Mary
be
used
nice to me.
when I was bad, she would say my dad's name, my uncle's name, my grandfather's name, and then eventually get to me. It
Yep.
sounded, I think it was Paul, Matt, Alan, Mike, whatever your name is. Stop it.
Yep. And don't lie to me, because I'll figure it out.
But we've enjoyed doing the show, and we do still love RP. I know I've kind of been in a burnout thing lately for almost a year now, but it's getting harder and harder to come up with new stuff. 100 episodes all just on role playing and MMOs. We've covered a lot of the bases. We're kind of starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel, but we're not going to get out of the podcasting and the video gaming stuff, and we'll still probably cover roleplay from time to time, as it is part of stuff that we do. But we just want to kind of just branch out a little bit more, get into maybe a couple reviews and things of that as games come out, or TV shows or movies, because I love movies. I mean, if you don't love movies, then I don't know.
And I am interested in the brand.
Yeah, and
I'm not sure what I'll do with it, but
Yeah.
I am interested in it. Yes.
Yeah, and and I'll be there to help out, and I'm sure I'll come on as I'm just gonna, if she wants to take it over, Jazz will. she'll be the one in charge instead of me, and she'll get to see how much fun it is wrangling people to come once a week.
Yeah.
Sample episode. You're the jazz gal. Wow. What do you want to talk about Roleplay tonight?
Fantastic Sloth.
See, you're in my head, and I've already been practicing that stuff. That's one of the things.
This is what happens. This is a spill-off perk for being in my head for years and having a little nest. Hey, you know what?
That's the problem when you know each other. Yeah.
I've had a nest in his head for just about 15
It's really
years.
more of a duplex at this point.
Yeah, really.
It's a small condominium. It's nice. It's not, fancy, but it's not, not fancy.
It's a very nice nest.
Right, it's plush. And yes, we could talk about LARPing Fantastic Sloths, something I do actually have experience. I haven't for years. Not since I got hit by a guy who we called Ogre. Not because he was ugly, but because he was as big as an ogre with
He hit you?
He hit me with... I don't know if you know about... For those of you that know LARPing, there's plastic and foam-covered swords. And in this case, it was a great hammer that hit me right in the family jewels from a guy named Ogre.
I have met this guy, and he is big.
Sweetest guy. He's a very nice guy.
Very nice.
Very nice guy.
He is big.
He is a monster of a man. He is just, and very sweet, very kind-hearted, not so great at aiming things below his line of sight, I will say. It was, my experience in LARPing was enjoyable and then very short-lived. Also, it's a lot of running outside in Oklahoma, which in the summer at 95 degrees and 150% humidity.
Screw that.
Not fun. Not fun at all.
I can barely sit in my freaking living room.
Yeah, I didn't do the LARP thing, but I started getting into SCA fire practice, and that was a full-body workout. I got thrashed a couple times. Just get hit by foam weapons and prepared and get hit by like broomsticks wrapped in...
Yeah, see that?
I got to be a zombie and throw my guts at people.
Fun.
Go on.
Oh.
Go on.
The floor is yours.
LARP over a weekend. It was actually a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah. I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
I
I've heard
started
of
out
those
LARP
things.
and then moved to SCA. So
Yeah. But no, it's definitely, we want to evolve into something else. We've got a name for it. I'm not going to say it yet because I don't have everything set up. And it's going to be more of a general, we're going to do a little bit more generalized stuff. I was hoping we could do a couple reviews. For example, I have a quick review of Bless Unleashed that went from being a PC MMO to now is only going to be a Xbox exclusive for some reason when they upgraded from the Unreal 3 engine to Unreal 4. Real quick review. So I was playing this in the beta, and okay, it's a beta. Oh, everything in the beta is not going to be like it is in the real game. Okay, so I was running through this, and I noticed there was nobody around. I went to the little mini-map, and it says that according to the mini-map, there's a quest guy right here. There's no quest guy. So 35 seconds later, the quest guy appears. And then so does every other character slowly teleporting in like it was fucking Star Trek and there was an assault going on. Apparently the server lag was so bad that people were fighting things all around me and I couldn't see a single one. So I was like, okay, I get this now. So I moved on to the next area. There should be a quest guy here. Let us count the ways and how long it took. I think I got to 60 before I was like, wait, maybe I'm crashed. It's taking so... Oh, nope, there he is. Yeah, there he is. The combat basically consisted of hitting like YYXB, YYYYYYYYYYX, or YYYBBBBBB. That was their combo system. It was very intricate.
Oh, man, no.
Yeah. It was a pretty game. I'll give them that. And there was the thing where you're supposed to hit, it's Xbox controller, so the right joystick is also a clicker. It's a button in itself. And when you're targeted over something, you click that, and it will auto-lock so that when you can move around them, but the camera will stay facing them. In theory. What it actually did to pretty much every time, 9 out of 10 times, was actually just jerk your camera directly behind your character, so you're no longer facing the thing you were trying to hit. Instead, it did the exact opposite of what it was supposed to do. So Blessed Online, or Blessed Unleashed, is still not worth being a free-to-play game. It actually should be a pay-to-play game, and in that they pay you to play the game. So there's my quick review It was bad.
That's brutal and honest, and I appreciate it.
I was playing it, and Sib comes in. I was like, "This is one of the worst games I've ever played." She's like, "Well, why are you playing it?" For the show. Another hour of this, and it was all worth it for that 5 minutes. But so that's the kind of stuff we're hoping to do. Everybody so far is signed on. We may get Strafei a new mic, so that he sounds
Always ragging on me, man.
so that we can hear the sexy, sultry Mass Effect tones of his voice. That's what generates his Mass Effect field. Which, by the way, I love that you actually said that to a person in the game.
Hey, man, you know...
That was my favorite response from you. I have to go back to that. Sorry. So yeah, we got another 5 episodes to go, and we'll have a number of topics between here and there, and it's been a lot of fun. We've learned a lot. We've met a lot of really awesome people. So we're hoping to, if you're not interested to follow into something new, I understand, and we wish you well. We did go ahead and close down our Patreon, which is why we didn't have the little Patreon thing at the thing, because I don't feel right charging people for a show that we know we're going to sunset at the moment. So with that, hopefully we'll hear back from you. Good, bad, yes, no. Well, let us know what you think. But for now, let us go to some role play. Anybody have any this week? Jazz, for example?
Yes, I did get some.
Interesting. Do go on.
Well, I had some when I got back into town. I had some role play in Star Wars, and I also worked a little bit in ESO. I'm still developing the plotline with Cial, and Strafei and I had a Jathalis with Romeo moment, which was very fun. So it was illuminating because he's playing on the whole, am I really bad, or have you just been given bad intel?
Hey man, you can't believe the lies of the Jedi, I'm just saying.
It's absolutely insidious. And I'm thrilled to be trying to figure this out tune-wise. And Cial is not sure what she thinks anymore. And she's got her own thing that she's been dealing with the corrupted Hist that she's had in her life most of her life. And so I've got 2 storylines kind of vying for attention. And I've been developing it, and there's an Easter egg in there for my old friends who are familiar with the stories of my previous characters. I have a habit of interlocking my stories because they're all part of a large overreaching story. And I enjoy doing that. It's a lot of fun. And every character I make somehow relates to these characters, either through connections of friendships and such, or actual bloodlines that are there. So it's a lot of fun when I can finally figure out a way to make it all work.
Because when she does that, I do little Easter eggs, like nightmares about this girl that looks just like her, just like Miri from freaking EQ2 or something like that. I'll do a little Easter egg, and it'll tickle Jazz to no end because she's like, ah.
You know what this means, though, is she's created the JCU, the Jazz Cinematic Universe.
She has, bro.
I have
not as well known as Marvel,
yes,
but still complex.
But it is very complex, and it is a lot of fun, and I have to do a lot of gymnastics to get the lore in various games to work.
Yeah.
So that I had to explain how they could all be different and all be the same. So it's been a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, one of those things I like about that is because a lot of people, when they do what you just said, Jazz, they actually bring it in, and like the first thing they'll be like is telling other people that in character all about it. But for you, it's really more of a like you know it, and maybe people that know it a little bit, but they know it out of character. But it's not one of those things like, this is like my character from Everquest who's the exact same person, but they teleported here through the planes, and now this is them too.
Seriously.
But you don't have to.
Yeah.
But you don't tell them that.
I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. All
Right.
my characters in every game I've been in have been slightly different. I entertained the notion after I had Miri of bringing Miri into ESO because it's doable because of the storyline. But I decided that didn't make a lot of sense, and Miri wouldn't like it here anyway. So
Yeah.
it was more fun to make my own character and then find a way to
Link them.
interlink them.
Yeah, and even if it's in your own head, as they say, your own head canon.
Head canon. It's all head canon. It's not something I share with most people that I roleplay with. Most people are never going to know. And it's not going to make any difference to my character in the lifetime of the game because more than likely they're never going to find this out until later.
Yeah.
So when they're old, it's not going to come
Or the game's
to
sunset and it doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
No one's there to even hear about it. Yeah.
Right, because they're never going to see about it. They're not going to know about it. It's all happening in my character's timeline and nobody else's. So it's a lot of fun for me to play off on this storyline that I have in my head. So Cial has discovered one of these Easter eggs in the sense of all of this, and she gets to interact with a character from my past playing. And I got to write about it, and it's going to be the only thing that happens. And Ciel's going to be like, scritch, 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 whatever.
She's not the only one to run into that gang, but I digress.
Yes.
That's a tale for another time.
So Ciel's never going to understand it till 80 years from now. It's not going to matter to the game. It's not going to change my gameplay. It's not going to change my story in game. But it was fun to write, and I can read it. For y'all, so you can get an idea of how my mind works if you'd like. Otherwise, we can just talk about the other things that I've done. So
that's up to you.
I'll go ahead and read it because it's not very long, and then I can talk about Tor because I haven't been writing for Tor at all. I've just been too busy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I said go ahead.
Okay. So this is part of the storyline called The Cat's Deal. And there's a reason for the title, and everybody's made guesses as to why, but so far they've all been completely wrong. But it's called The Cat's Deal, Part 6. It's the one this one is, and I will read it. Cial sat on the cliff and looked across the marsh, eyes on the temple from far off. She perched like a gargoyle there, eyes locked on her former home as her mind raced. Moroc's touch was gone from her mind. It usually faded after a few days, so this was normal. Her mind played through the long talk with Romeo last night and the talk with Jael that both he and her had enjoyed. She sat there on her haunches and let her mind wander, eyes locked on the temple from afar. Such a curious child you are, even with everything you have survived. The voice startled her and she nearly leapt off the cliff, barely remembering to scramble back as she spun in place to face the voice. She stared wide-eyed as the old woman stood there, a smirk on her brown face. She looked almost Breton, really, with Yakutan features, save for the pointed ears and streaks of red in her stark white hair. Her pale, faintly glowing green eyes made her appear vaguely creepy, and this time her face, still a pretty milky chocolate brown, was devoid of wrinkles. Suddenly, you don't look so old, Cial said after a long moment. The woman laughed. I felt you would have trusted me easier with the wrinkles, child. Appearance is everything to most. Her voice was melodic and smooth, lacking the aged gravel from before, but it was still the same voice, the same person. She stared as she slowly stood to face the woman. Who are you? What are you? She thought to ask the second question after the first. He's right. You're too smart for your own good. She chuckled softly. Cial felt the shiver and goosebumps as the woman repeated something stated only between her and Morak. She shook her head. How? The question died in her throat as it all clicked into place. She raised her hand and looked at her tattoo, now faintly glowing and rimmed in pale green to match the woman's eyes. She slowly looked back up and into those glowing eyes. The woman smiled. See, you figured it all out on your own. The woman was amused and pleased. Cial shook her head. Not really. I don't know what you are. The woman smiled and reached out to stroke Cial's cheek. She stiffened, but she did not flinch away, and the woman's touch was hot and silky. She kept her eyes locked with the woman's. I am many things. Right now, I am your advisor and protector. You will understand in time that some things are best left to learn. It is not time yet for such things. Her voice was lilting and happy, even playful, as she watched the child watching her. Sial just stared, unable to think of what else to say. Instead, she studied this old woman, eyes sliding on her to note her clothes, her body language, and her overall appearance. The woman seemed pleased and did not move, letting Sial study her. After a long moment, Sial looked back into the woman's eyes. "What do I call you?" she asked finally, her voice curious. The woman smiled. "You may call me Yana. We are going to be fast friends in time. Right now, you live your life. I have a question for you, however." Yana's eyes were friendly and soft. Sial nodded slowly. "Okay," she answered. Yana smiled. "Do you wish to be free of Morak, or do you wish to handle this yourself?" Yana asked the question carefully, her tone metered and expression unreadable. Sial stared at her a long moment and then nodded. "I can handle this myself," she said. Yana nodded and smiled. "Then you shall." And then she was gone. Sial blinked a few moments and looked around the edge of the cliff, then over it, then above her, and saw nothing. There was nothing there to mark that Yana had ever been there, no footprints, not even a whiff of scent. She sighed and rubbed her face with both hands. "Alrighty then," she said with a sigh, and she turned and headed back to her grazing guar, ready to return home once more. It's not the end, but it's to be continued, but
The
that's the end
end!
for this one. Yay!
The end!
The end!
Very nicely done.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So you, said you had some Tor stuff too?
Well, I have Tor RP. I don't have any writing.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Tor has just been, like, last night was hilarious. Apparently, on the fleet, some guards decided that they were going to take out a Sith.
Oh, really?
And that went over like a lead fart. Yeah. People were like, "You're gonna instantly be killed if you try to do this." Yeah, it just went into this big OOC drama.
Right? Yeah.
It was so cringy. It was hilarious.
Actually,
yeah. So they were arguing back and forth. It was quite amusing.
Was one of them buffed without being asked? That's what I really want to know. That's what the people want to know.
It was along those lines of foolishness, yes. And then the three of us that were role-playing there on the fleet went to...
anywhere else.
What is it called? Begins with a C. Cartel. Is it Cartel? No.
Corellia?
No. It's like Cartel. It's a bar that's on the fleet, but it's elsewhere.
Oh, yeah. The one where they have the
Cartel Bazaar or something like that. Anyway,
Bazaar Cartel or something like that. Yeah, I forget what it's called.
And so we went there, which, by the way, is a really cool place.
It's not a bad place. It's just it's actually kind of nice looking bar right there on the fleet that nobody utilizes.
Nobody. It's really cool. So we went there and we role played for a little while, and then I went to bed because I was exhausted because I had a shitty day. So that was the end of that. But that was the kind of a taste of all the role play that I've kind of been dabbling in since I got home.
Yeah. Well, how about you, Strafay?
Since she got home. Where'd you go, Jazz?
I went on vacation to Arkansas where my in-laws live. And I took my kids to spend some time with their grandparents. And then I went to visit some
kids
friends
and
in
grandparents.
Arkansas.
That's fantastic. No one gives a shit. Let's get to the part where you met someone really good.
I went and spent some time with some friends of mine that I used to know in EQ. And I stayed there for 2 days. And then I was, in the process of all of this, I found out that Ashen only lives 3 hours, not even 3 hours away from where these people live. And I thought it was like 8 hours. I had no idea.
I'm like 20 minutes away from him.
Yeah. I should have come to see you too now that I realize
Yeah.
Latin planning. It was very spur of the moment for me to show up.
It was the day before she showed up. Would you be up for a visitor? It's like we make sure and it was fun too because she got here a little earlier because we wouldn't probably be done with work till 3, and of course she got here a little earlier because it was a quick drive, and naturally that was when our son's car decided to stop working.
Yes.
So there was nobody here for about an hour or so to let her even into the house.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went in the stupidly hot heat, 97 degrees and I swear 300% humidity.
Jazz, you'll be
80 humid. Yeah.
You'll be glad to know that Monday The high was like 82, and it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was
for
that
the
way in
entire
Iowa
week.
too.
Yeah.
Iowa was like boiling the whole time I was gone. So apparently our whole area was just on fire. But yeah, so I was there for 2 days, and then I came back to pick up my kids and go home.
Now
but
let's
a lot of
we need to address the elephant in the room. She broke our TV tray.
I did not. It was already
Dang.
broken, I thought you knew about it.
No, it was working fine before she got here.
It was totally broken.
And then she leaves,
when I
and it's
got
just
it.
it's got this it's something with her and dangly bits just bouncing around.
Yeah, I sucked that screw right out of there, but
Actually, I think that was one I've repaired before, and the screw probably just fell out. But
No,
totally gonna blame it on you.
Okay, those TV trays are older. They've been
They're
around
older
longer.
than our.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've been together, so
Those
it was
TV
not
trays
Jazz.
are older than our relationship.
Yes, they are.
yeah, because I was mortified.
Oh,
You guys
no.
were all asleep, and it fell apart, and I was like, oh my god! And I got it to go back together, and I was like, I got to tell, and then I completely forgot. But when I got up, of course, y'all weren't home, and I left.
Yep.
So I was so nervous to get the house locked up right. I was so nervous.
Yeah. Okay.
You
So
guys were
about
gonna
that,
get robbed
we
because of me.
we've not seen our dog since that visit. No, everything was fine. But no, I had to give. Yeah, it's been slowly. I've actually had. I think I used like machine screws from the garage somewhere to put them back in there a couple years ago. But you didn't know that, so
It was wonderful to
It was
see
really good.
and
It
It
meet
was a lot
you.
of fun, and I got to hug them both. It was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They have pictures of my fat ass squeezed in between them. It was
I saw it.
fantastic fun.
I saw one of them.
You saw it, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Sid was all hung it up like, I got a jazz.
What
Yeah,
was
I had a jazz.
Mhm.
I had a big warm hug from Sib. It was so nice.
What was what was funny too is because Jazz and I have known each other since 2006, and she and Sib have known each other since when did we? Was that 2008 about?
You were dating. You weren't married yet.
No, yeah, but I mean, like 2008 would have been about I think when her and I got together because it was
Yeah.
I think so.
yeah. So so for that long, so 11 years for you and Sib, and however long for me because math is not my strong suit, but. It was kind of weird meeting her in person because there was none of that. It wasn't awkward. It was like it was just like we hadn't seen each other in a while. It wasn't like
Yeah.
our first time meet. It didn't have that feeling with a lot of people when you meet someone for the first time. It's a little awkward. You're never sure of where you can talk about and what you can tease about. With her, it really was. It just like it seemed like someone I hadn't seen in 10 years as opposed to someone I'd never met ever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I
we even
teased
had a
her and-
political discussion. It was
Oh
kinda
yeah,
fun.
it was a lot of fun, and unlike a lot of discussions, it doesn't end in screaming, yelling, and us hating each other because that's the
No.
way it's supposed to fucking be.
Yeah.
don't need
We're
to
supposed
agree
to
with
be able
her.
to have that conversation.
Yeah, and it was fun. I had a lot of fun, even though I vehemently disagreed with everything. I don't like, for example, I don't think the moon landing was fake like she does.
What?
Oh, God.
Do not even go there.
I love it.
No, she's
Okay.
just a flat earther.
I have to say too, it was hilarious. Who's laughing?
I was laughing at it. I called her a flat earther, and she didn't get a chance to say no.
I snorted.
Well, okay, so I actually dozed off the last night Jazz was here, and I wake up to, oh my God, what's going on? What is he doing? And yeah, Ashen's playing Mortal Kombat, and Jazz doesn't like gory stuff, but she's watching it.
I close my eyes a lot.
Every time, no, she closed her eyes a lot. I was playing Jade, which I know, as a man playing a black woman, I too am now a black woman. So she has a move where she puts her pike and it extends and it goes through the back of their skull, pops their eyeball out, and then she cuts them in half and then spins them around the pole. It's my version of pole dancing. But the thing was, she got used to that one after a while. But there was a time where I hit somebody that was kicking my butt, and even though she knew if she heard the words, finish her, she shouldn't look at the screen, she continually looked at the screen. And then she would instantly, like a 5-year-old seeing Freddy Krueger for the first time, turn away and put her hands over her eyes. as a grown ass woman. She was like this. If you're seeing me on the video, it was like this every time, and she knew not to look, and yet she did. And it was fun, but it was a lot of fun, and even though I wanted to play, she had her computer, she was role playing in our living room, and I was like, I'm going to play some Mortal Kombat because I played my other stuff. I was like, pinball.
Yeah, I'm trying to have role play, and there's these things being ripped apart on the TV.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I turn and look and go, "Oh, shouldn't have done that. That was bad."
I'm trying to desensitize. Did you have any nightmares?
No, actually, I didn't.
There you go. I'm desensitizing you so that you can start enjoying these things.
I had a creepy dream, but it wasn't a nightmare.
Yeah,
so I bet that was surreal having the old guild leader like in your front room, like role playing.
It was kind of fun. What the fun part was watching her struggle getting her fucking laptop updated for the 8 hours before that because she hadn't done an update, I think, since Windows.
No, the
Vista.
problem is that when I was at my in-laws, when I first got there, I had gotten the laptop up and running and I had no goddamn problems. I knew there was a missing driver. And I thought, it'll be easy to fix. So when I got to my in-laws, I started trying to fix it, and the whole goddamn thing bricked on me. And I had to wipe and reinstall Windows. And I was still trying to get everything up and frickin' running when I got to your house.
Mm-hmm. It was
a lot of anger.
It was a lot of anger. She was a very angry person. But no, it was awesome. It was awesome to meet her. And I'm looking, now that she knows we're close by, when she visits, the in-laws again, it'll be a quick jaunt.
Now I know exactly how to get there. It's fast. It doesn't take long at all.
No.
It's almost 3 hours, but it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes, and I can get there. I know the route, and it's really simple.
So there we have it.
Now that I derailed
somebody else needs to come and see.
Well, I was going to segue into that, but yes, carry on. Now that I've derailed the chat about what I did in roleplay for I don't know how long. Yes, I might have been given a troll's invitation to roll up during a same trip, maybe in the future. We don't know. We'll see.
Yep. You'd be welcome here too. You would be.
But as far as roleplay goes,
as long as you brought whiskey, you promised me whiskey.
As long as I brought, I will bring you your whiskey, sir.
I want some Texas whisk.
I'm gonna bring it. I'm gonna bring 2 bottles just in case you like it, and we end up, anyway.
No, do go on. In case we end up, what? I mean, don't get me wrong. I am, of course, flattered, and of course, being sexy as I am, understand your feelings towards me.
I'm gonna sleep in the truck.
That's probably for the best.
No, what I meant was, I'll bring 2 bottles in case you like it, and we destroy 1 bottle. You'll have one
I got what you meant. Yeah. All right, so homophobia aside, what did we do? What did you do?
I mean, you're pretty, bro. You just ain't that pretty. I'm sorry. It is what it is.
I know what I am. You ain't got to tell me what I look like. That's right. Oh, man, I got hard nipples right now. Oh, man.
It's a role play.
All I got to say, whatever gets him out of the bed.
Whatever. Hey, it says ultimately whatever generates his max effect skills.
There you go.
Right.
Oh, go on, Strafay, before we just keep going.
Okay, so I was playing, I think Monday night or Tuesday night. I dropped in on, it was kind of later in the evening. I think it was a Sunday or Saturday night. I believe it was the Saturday we skipped. And I saw Romeo and Jazz still up really late. And so I was like, you know what? I need to throw some intrigue into their roleplay lives, because normally they're sitting around discussing and trying to plot how they're going to proceed. And I was like, you know what if I actually bring the guy himself to their little chat and have a honest, open discussion? The very idea. So I brought Rufus in, and Rufus, once he got there, he smelled them. Really, he left his hat with the Sia, and he just tracked his hat back to where the hat was. And when he got there, the Sia was in her no clothes at all. She was in the moon suit. And when she turned around, there was the moon. To which the Rufus said, "Hey, the Sia, why are you in your hunter skin?" What are you talking about? Oh, that. And then off she went. And of course, Romeo, he's the suspicious red guard. He gives this one the eyebrow, the scorn. He danced around a little bit. Then Romeo started dancing with me, so this one thought maybe, just maybe, a touch of moon sugar, he could be a cool red guard. So the topic ensued. But they started talking about ill things that Rufus did not want to discuss. But he kept talking about them, and then the other boss, through this one, took interest. Well, this one has outstanding bargain. Let me take care of my friends. I've been hunting down the spider danger, keeping them off her back, without her knowing. Since she angered 3 Jade princes in a row, this one wonders how she still has her skin on. To run around naked, but this one does not judge. This one just does his dance of joy, has the occasional moon sugar wrapped in yarn balls, especially the big yarn ball. But no, enough of the moon sugar haze. This one danced, this one talked, but then the other boss said, "Hey, they sound like this Redguard fellow sounds like an interesting sort. I think I should meet them." This one said, "No, don't do this." But before this one knew, all the lights in their room, they started flickering off. This one started getting cold. And suddenly, this one saw nothing but black. And just as quick as it happened, this one dropped on the couch. And there was the boss. A boss. And there was the other two. This looked like she was going to spring like the tiger. But she never sprung. This one is not sure why, but after enough of them talking, this one took a nice nap on the couch because the cushions, they were so soft. And I could stretch my paws and make the biscuits, and it was just so. So I stretched my toes, I stretched my tail, I turned around, put this one's paws behind his back, and fell asleep. While that skilled tracker and proper fetcher and tool, he is a valuable asset, was doing that, I decided I'd just have an honest chat with Romeo, with the stipulation that he would keep an open mind. He asked many questions. I answered them truthfully. Essentially told him, you've been fed a one-sided story. And I guarantee you, if you ask my dear brother, you'll get nothing but outrage. And then I truly ask you, who clearly is the more open-minded and willing to extend the olive branch, as it were. This talk went on, and then something interesting happened. This Redguard, for as clever as he is, started giving me free information. How did I know it was good information? I looked over at my apprentice, still crouched on the table, and she was tense, trembling, sighing. I could tell her face subtly shifts. These are things she did not want me knowing. Things that I will remember and look into. Needless to say, we had a good conversation. We left on good terms. And I decided I should pay my dear brother a visit at his next poetry hour. So I departed. Oh, that's right. I almost forgot one thing. My apprentice, you see, the Wood Elsia, I'd given her a pair of disguised matched daggers at one point in her life. She foolishly went to this vampire lord and had them destroyed or hidden, or else some other fate befell them. Despite this, I suspect she didn't destroy them. And on a gamble, I pulled out the scabbards that went to these daggers. Treasured items from my youth. No, not his youth. But I digress. I calmly put them on the table, and it visibly shook her to her core. And somehow I knew she may still have something hid out somewhere. This bears further investigation. But I departed. Several days later. Yes, you fine fellows. It is poetry hour, and because we've had such a high attendance, I, Trithalus Silverleaf, decided we shall just have to go to the Urtia cave because I've been nagged to no end by my dear niece, Kia. So I relented. And at first, it was a dead room. But upon the next one, we had a full fetching house. I kid you not. Full attendance. Granted, some of those in attendance have questionable ideas of what poetry should be. But nonetheless, they made a proper showing of it. They did their best. And at the end of the day, that's all one could ask. I could hardly enjoy it, however, because I've been quite fatigued. Raising a infant son with the recovering wife who could, in a bad mood, twist my arm out of its socket and hand it to me. That is it's a dicey deal. But I haven't been sleeping well, regardless of this fact. We had a proper showing. Everyone read their lines. Kia regaled us with some great poem about her daughter watching her grow. It was all tender-hearted. It was all rather so. It was all good. And it ended, and we returned to the bar. And then Romeo, ever the curious one. And honestly, I feel terrible for Romeo so often because he asks me these questions. And due to the lack of sleep, some facts I just can't remember hardly anymore. I'm not sure why that is. But he asked me if the name Jail meant anything to me. I perked an eyebrow and looked at him and said, well, that was the nickname of my brother when he was my brother. And I kindly reminded him that he was my brother no more due to past sins and transgressions. It is upon this time that I heard a voice I had not heard in years sound behind me. Truly, you have no brother, Trithalis? I suppose I should not be surprised. You are still on about certain unmentionable things. What was I to do? I immediately dropped my goblet and drew steel and went after this fetcher. For years I've been hunting this fool. He led to the ruin of our family name in Alinor. We got exiled from Somerset. The man needed to die. Amongst other things, he left Kia parentless. And these are just the minor infractions. Of course, he backed off, and I was stopped quickly by Sejoris. And in my state, my coordination is just... Oof. I fume. I am better than this. I should have struck him down when I had the chance. Needless to say, they drugged me off, and I remember passing out at some point in time. I'm unsure what happened next. I just know at some point, when I did wake, Kia came over, instructed me that he had gone. I pleaded with them, why did you not strike him down? And they all said, well, you see, there's this organization, the Dark Brotherhood. I'm sure you know it. I know those murderous fetches. I know them all quite well. But that was the rub, you see. For Kia is indeed part of this motley band of assassins and cut-purses, knife-men and the like, ne'er-do-wells a lot. It mattered not. Apparently he was some high-ranking individual in this deal. And in order to keep her family safe, she had to play the game. To play the game. Which reminds me that when good men and women do nothing, evil thrives and expands. Especially when they embed themselves in the rules. So, I was bluntly honest with her. I said, well, those rules shall suit you well. When I die, Voli is killed, and my son is killed. The rules shall be served. This, of course, upset her. I have some regret about upsetting my niece. I love her dearly. Unfortunately, it had to be said. She burst out in tears and said, yes, I had to do this to protect my own family. It's a selfish act, which, upon reflection and some small amount of rest, I can't hardly blame her, being a father now. But still, they should have murdered him where he stood. Justice would have been served. Justice, I say. And on, Romeo and Sejoris, don't play this game. You're baiting him in. These fetchers don't know. For 3 lifetimes of their lifetimes, I've been following this fetcher. Does that matter? No. They have to be playing by the rules. Playing by their game. It's going to get them all killed. But don't listen to the sleep-deprived crusader. It will be what it shall be. And I kindly remind them, if this fetcher shows up at the manor, or the ranch, I will strike him dead where he stands, rules be damned. The end!
Nice.
I had a lot of roleplay.
Apparently.
Very nice.
I didn't read jail for the other part. If you want that part at the bar, you shall have to play jazzy.
I will go on. They're already an hour in. What about you, Sib? I know you did something today.
Oh, we started a D&D campaign, but we're just doing getting our character sheets set up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that was Staffe is one of them. Jazz was supposed to be there, but I think
I was
she's
supposed
been
to
busy.
be, but I'm afraid that dealing with all of that kind of screwed my whole schedule. So
Yeah.
No, and that's understandable. But no, that's about all I've done this week.
You should read your Nomi story. It's great.
Oh, my Nomi story. I do have a Nomi story. It's not that. It's just like a backstory. It's not really anything special. I guess I could.
yeah, you should
That's up to
probably
you.
read it. I think it would be fun.
The problem is, I gave these people really unique gnome names, and I'm not sure how to pronounce them.
We want to wait till next week, so you ready?
Yeah, let me wait till next week, and then I'll read it. I'll read her. And my gnome's name is Heratul Orezi Uralsil Terran, and she goes by Hair. But when I was looking up for her character, they said that they have a ton of different names, but they always go by just a little nickname. So I was like, okay. But yeah, I'll read her backstory next week.
Okay. I've been playing Final Fantasy 14. I haven't role played. I actually did find a guild advertising, and I was like, that sounds interesting, and they seem nice. So I'm on their Discord server, and I'm sure I'll probably get to join up with them, and I'll see. But playing through Stormblood, it's not the best. It's definitely not the expansion I'm wanting to getting to. I want to get to Shadowbringers, which is the new one. That's getting like 9.5s and 9s and above everywhere, and has the concept that a world was when they've mentioned it early on. There was a segment in Final Fantasy early on called the Warriors of Darkness that came from a world where light had won, and without that balance, it was just as bad. It was really awful because anything bad, I guess the light just destroyed. So that's where Shadowbringers comes in, is you're the warrior of darkness in this, and you go to a world where I guess light is won, and even everything being light doesn't necessarily mean it's good. So it's kind of a neat reversal of the trope. So I'm looking forward to getting to that. But right now it's
like Ravenloft except flipped.
Yeah, kind of. Kind of like that. But the Stormblood, man, that's an expansion that did not know what it was doing, because you're supposed to. We're gonna free the Alamegan people. Couple quests in. We can't free the Alamegan people. We need to go to Doma to get people and we need to free the people in Doma. And once they're free, they'll help us free the people on Alamigo. Go to Doma. The people of Doma don't want to be free. We don't have the will for it. Every time you come here, we end up we suffer for it. Something happens. The people of Doma have had the spark of rebellion kindled in their hearts, and we yearn to be free. Let us go forth and free ourselves. Oh my God. But before we do that, we need to go up to this other area in the north so that we can help the Domans be free. Oh, come on, sweet Jesus. Can we just nuke the whole fucking planet from orbit and just call it done so I can get to the next expansion? So it's been fun.
It sounds like it.
The gameplays, this is not the one where the Shadowbringers is the good one, and this one I remember hearing the reviews of, it was not greatly well received. I mean, it's fun enough. I mean, it's okay. The main story is somewhat fun enough. I'm mocking it mostly, but the side quests, I almost always read through those. I'm clicking through those things faster than their emotes can finish, which means I have to wait for the emote to process through the NPC, and then I can click through it, and I'm done so I can level. But yeah, it is definitely not their strongest expansion. They got stuck in that loop, and Shadowbringers is the one I'm trying to get to, and that's where it breaks. Unfortunately, I have to play through the other one. I don't have to. I guess I could spend $25 and get the jump ahead, but I'm not willing to spend $25. I'd rather just play through it. Yeah, yes, Fanatical Sloth. Final Fantasy 14 arcs just made me tired, and I couldn't finish Stormblood. If I didn't know Shadowbringers brought its A game and apparently really ties up. I've kept mostly spoiler free outside of previews and commercials, but the reviews say they really brought their A game and they tie up a lot of great stories. That's what I'm gearing for. But you are absolutely right, Stormblood. It's just a slog. It really is. It's just, come on. Some of the boss fights are great, and the music, as always, is fantastic in every Final Fantasy game. But the story writing, they really focus, kids. Just next time, focus on one story and tell that story. It's okay. Just tell the story. So hopefully next week I'll have a roleplay guild to talk about. I did find one old story. I'm not going to read it because we're already getting pushed into time.
I'm sorry, boss.
No, you're all right. It's but so I'll read that next week. But it was one I found from 3 years ago. Yeah, you're fine. So, but
I did hijack you into talking about the vacation, though.
Yeah,
that's right. We got to talk about
And I will admit,
visiting us.
I was going to skip that for time.
I will admit, I was trolling for time because I was killing a hill giant, and I was like, "Well, what can I do to delay this?" So yes,
it's all good. But yeah, that's what I've been doing. What about you, Yunfei? You play anything this week?
No, but I'm gonna play The Sims and swim around as a mermaid.
Nice.
She did download The Sims apparently, and she's gonna swim around as a mermaid.
Yep.
The end. No.
The end. Yep.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know what you think. I'll be honest, I've seen commercials for the new Sims. Only the first 5 seconds on YouTube because then I hit skip. Because the commercial is it's that stupid thing that video game commercials do where they show the real life person and then they show them making themselves as a sim.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
Like, I just play this game to be myself. No, you don't play The Sims to be yourself. You play them to put them in a pool and remove the ladder and watch them slowly drown and shit themselves. That's why you play The Sims. Also to cause a house fire. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. That's why I play The Sims.
Or you're Jazz and you steal characters from MMOs and you drop them in your world and you have total control.
Yeah, it was fun. I made Rengots, Toyana, Mirian, all of them. Yeah. Put them in a house, a giant mansion that I made with my...
And then she removed all the doors so they slowly starved to death. Because she is a benevolent and evil god.
Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun.
Sounds like Nightmare of the Satals.
So, all right,
this Varen turned out to be a little shit. But anyway, I digress.
I mean, anyway, go ahead.
Right. Okay, so moving on. On to the main topic. It's actually something Jazz said a few episodes ago that got me thinking. She said something about the feel of the community. I think it was for ESO. And it got me to thinking about how they actually do, every MMORPG community does have its own ebb and flow. It's got its own feeling. Some of them are very positive, and some of them are start positive, and then they slowly get taken over by a Russian gaming company and slowly get toxic and awful. The two of which really weren't coinciding together, but they did coincide together. Just one didn't cause the other. So thought we might go over with our experiences on the different RP communities that we've been in. We've played a lot of games. I know I've played a ton. I also asked in our Discord server, rpmmoradio.com/Discord, and over in RPHQ's Discord server, which, by the way, they have new management over there, and they're trying to kind of kickstart themselves back up. So if you want to take a look, rphq.org,
I'll go take a look.
I think. Human Floyd, he finally came to the realization that he's never going to have the time that he always thought he would. So he's passed it on to a lot of his other friends over there at RPHQ. And they're trying to be much more active. They're doing a lot more stuff now. I've seen their Twitter. What's that? Twitter. Twitter presence. They've been asking questions on the. What is Tumblr, Twitter, Twitch? There's other letters in the alphabet to start with something. True. Yeah. Discord. Oh, wait, no. But they've been doing a lot of good stuff, and they've really they're trying to bring that back. The people that have taken over it. And they're doing a good job. So RPHQ, I think .org. Give them a look. Join their Discord server if you're into RP. They've got a lot of helpful stuff. A lot of the quotes I have from here are actually pulled from people responding to me there. So We've got a list of MMOs here, and they are literally in no particular order. I could have alphabetized them. I could have done them by year. I did them by the way I just thought of them and put them in there. So, starting with ESO, because that's one a lot of people we've talked about recently. The first thing I have for ESO here, I'm just going to quote Malfunction from RPHQ. He says, or she says, they say, they bay. ESO has probably the closest to quote-unquote lore Nazi I've ever seen, particularly early on. It got milder over time, and honestly, I liked the fact that people took the lore seriously. Has a spectrum of lore Nazism that... I read goodly. There's the ones that adhere to ESO's lore. Oh, that's my thing. That's what he said. He thought that one, for what he played, was the most lore kind of Nazi-ish in ESO. I would agree to a point, but I think for me, Lord of the Rings Online definitely takes the crown for lore Nazi, the amount of lore Nazi in a single community. Congratulations, you win the lore Nazi award.
Yeah, no,
Serious
they definitely
business.
do.
Yeah, and for ESO too, for me the lore Nazism, it's kind of on a spectrum. There's the ones that adhere to like ESO's lores, and the more hardcore of those that stick to the wider Elder Scrolls games and books and stuff like that, because ESO fudged a lot of lore to cram it into an MMO, which kind of caused that rift. For example, the slave-dwelling race of the Argonians siding with their slave master friends, the Dunmer, under one banner with the Nords. Strafe?
It don't make no dang sense.
Here we go.
Because the Nords invade from the north. That's how they got Solstheim and Morrowind, for you kids paying attention to the old games. And the Argonians are former slaves. Why in the world would you go work for your slave masters?
Right.
Serious.
They wouldn't give a shit. They'd be like, yeah, go ahead and wipe them out. We'll actually help you guys wipe them out. We have no loyalty to them. So,
And if you pay attention to the stories in Skyrim, they did just that. As soon as the Red Mountain exploded, the Argonians invaded and slaughtered Dunmer houses to the man.
Yep. So, a lot of fudging. And that definitely, I know I'm not the only one that has seen that there's some people that they absolutely hate the ESO lore that they have to go follow along with and do everything they can and kind of kick and scream and are pulled by the hair into it. The other thing with the ESO community is, click-wise, there are a great many of them.
Ooh, you ain't kidding.
Right. But you can easily actually get away from them, because the RP and the different factions, like the Ebonheart Pact to the Aldmeri Dominion to the Dragonfall Covenant, are all, even within the game, each have a very different feel, because the Dark Elf aspect of the pack of houses has a lot more cliquishness than the others would. And that's what I've heard from a lot of people, like Kishbis from the show. He started out in Altmeri Dominion, even though he liked the Dark Elves. He always said just it's a lot more kind of open, less clicky. I mean, and we've definitely come across that. I know a lot of us did. Feel free to jump in, anybody.
The
No, I
vampires
agree
were
with
really
that.
clicky too.
I have found it to be more clicky than it is lore friendly. There are lore Nazis. There's always lore Nazis,
Right.
But they are far and between outshouted by people who just go, lore is kind of just a suggestion.
Yeah.
And I would say the large part of ESO people are really not interested in anything but having fun, which there's nothing wrong with that per se. But for me, it has killed RP for me to some degree, because lore is important to me. And I'm not a Nazi. I can wiggle room. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well,
my
it's the base in
entire
which you
character span
build the building.
is people from another dimension. So,
Yeah.
I'm okay with that to a point, but I also bend over backwards in gymnastics to make my characters fit into lore as much as I can.
Yeah.
And I have a really hard time with people who just kind of throw it to the wind and go, I just consider lore to be kind of like a stop sign. I had somebody tell me that, by the way, the other day.
Those
Lore's a
people
stop
drive me
sign.
nuts. I agree.
Okay, how is lore like a stop sign? Well, it's just more of a suggestion.
It
How
keeps
old are you?
It keeps my creativity chained.
Jazz, you
Yes.
should have said your face is a suggestion.
Oh,
Your
I
mom
was
goes
just
to
like,
college.
Stop signs are not a suggestion. So that was an interesting moment. But
Yeah.
the point is that I think a large majority of people that play ESO, there are groups that really enjoy it, but I would say if I talk to 10 random people, I'm going to only find one that considers lore important. It's really low on the scale. They're like, well, I follow lore sort of, but it's really more about having fun.
Or if you get into the groups, it's their lore, like the
Yes.
lore for a lot of the Dunmer guilds. Each house, they almost from
They
guild
write
to
their own
guild,
lore.
they
They
basically
don't
do
follow
their own thing.
ESO's lore.
Yeah.
They have their own. They blend in drow. They bend in, Ben's accurate. That's very accurate.
Yeah, well, and like some of them, some of them keep, they won't allow outside, Dunmer only. Others will be like, we're a very inclusive race of Dunmer, which doesn't really exist. You know,
I've had people who are like, I don't think that
Dunmer
Dunmer should be racist because racism is bad. I'm like, well,
You're right, but
I
no.
agree with you, but in this world, that's not how it works.
I've
Yeah.
seen people, Jazz, not play Altmer because they owned goblin slaves. I kid you not. I've seen this. I'm like, you guys, you realize this is a game, right? I'm just,
Yeah, that's
just putting
well, see, the problem with this, Strafe, what you're not thinking of is at the beginning of the game when the Bethesda square bounces on there. After that, it does not say that no goblins were enslaved in the making of this game. So they don't know that without that warning. They're the same people that also need to know that you can't use a toaster in the bathtub at the same time. They're the same people.
Gotcha.
That's right. See, now you just feel silly. So pardon me. Another aspect I'm gonna kind of mark on here is helpfulness. As a community, I'd say the ESORP community is reasonably helpful. I did see a lot of people wanting to help role players learn. There was a small number that actually, though, seemed to enjoy trying to crush their spirits and bend them to their will and underheal. And they were also very good at that. And that I think those types of people turn a lot of people off to roleplay because they bring out the you're not technically
yeah.
The
Nerd Patrol, man.
Yeah, like what was
it's
the
also when you have guilds that have their own lore and you get some
Right.
role player that doesn't know any different, wanders in and learns the wrong stuff and then gets hammered the next time he tries to role play with people outside of his guild. Or situations like the guild that you and I all belong to.
yeah
Briefly, where if I had been a new role player, I'm not sure I would have continued role playing after that. I would
No.
have been so upset at the way my character was treated.
and the way
But I
you
don't
were
think-
and the way you were treated out of character because of the way your character was. Yeah.
Yes, because my character was a certain way, people Sealy treated me badly.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't care what,
In
particularly
character, yeah.
Zasher doesn't care what anybody thinks of him. Which is,
It was
I
pretty
make a
bad.
lot of my characters that way. They don't care because I find it easier to role play if people are more laid back.
Yeah.
My characters tend to be laid back because it's easier to role play with a wider group of people if your character is, have a stick
Not
in his
holding
butt.
up a wall all the time and reading a book
Right,
and getting
or something
upset
like
when
that.
somebody approaches
And it opens RP to more opportunities because
Right,
if
so you're more likely to find
stick in
role
the
play
mud. Yeah.
if you have somebody that's a little more open. And I often put that in my character sheet for that reason, because I'm I would never make like a super duper ultra shy character, because how in the world are they ever going to meet anybody
It
with
takes
that characteristic?
Right. It takes so much. Like Shard did something like that from our EverQuest too, but she was super patient with that. She didn't
Yeah.
mind when she played it off as being aloof and not wanting to talk to people. She didn't mind when people didn't talk to her. She was like, "That's good, I'm good."
Right, but the same thing
She was
like with
patient.
Tilder. Tilder played a really nasty person. And, he didn't care if people disliked his character. And at the same time, there are people who play really nasty characters who then get butthurt and angry OOC because people don't like their characters. Well, you're an asshole and you kill people for fun.
Right.
So he has a heart. Oh my God. So
I keep sleeping around with all these different women in game. Why do people like me and call me a whore? I don't know, because you're a man whore? Just gonna put that out there. Women apparently don't like that when you don't tell them that up front.
Or like with people with me, with my character Sial, who will sleep with practically anyone at any time. One, she'll say, I don't sleep. If you're sleeping, you're doing it wrong. Or they'll say, you're a whore. No, I'm a slut. I enjoy sex, but I don't get paid for it. Although I have, but I don't anymore. Where were we talking about?
Helpfulness. But no.
She's just the way she is. Again, I make characters that really don't care. That helps.
Yeah. And like the one of the first interactions I had with the servants of the tribunal was with Arabi. And when I was one of the first, and I was one of the founders of that guild and one of the first commanders. It was the first captain. They didn't even call it commander. It was captain at the time. And he was a dick. He was a douchebag that had to have control, and he was telling me all the things I can do and I can't do. And I'm like, I flat out told him right off the bat, like, you really don't get to tell me what I can do in my role play. And we never got along after that. So had that been somebody else, it probably would have been turned me off. Eventually, they actually kind of did. That's a group, not him. He was an idiot. I had no problem with him. But a large group of people within there, they really burned me on the role play, and I've barely felt like doing it since. And that's with me having over a decade of experience, and I shouldn't let it bother me. But it just kind of is like, well, I mean, there is also the other thing that there's no new RP games to play in, which is kind of wearing thin.
We can't find anywhere else to go, so we're kind of stuck.
Yeah, what was that? I've got nowhere else to go.
Yeah, exactly.
But overall, on the community feeling for ESO, one of the big problems with it is due to the mega servers, RP can be really hard to find without outside help of RP, what's that stupid ESO RP and the either their Discord or their forums. That helps a lot. And if you don't do that, the chances of you, like, even if you know to go to Riften, the chances of you maybe getting into the right one, it's hit or miss. And that's even if you don't know to go there.
And I'll even take it a step farther. I really feel, and this goes for Guild Wars 2 and a couple of other places that do this, the mega server thing has in many ways killed RP.
Oops.
Because it has forced the people who like random RP, like me, I have to arrange my RP to some level.
Even if it's just to teleport to someone that's already in that instance.
But I still have to do that. Yep. I have to set it up. There's no randomness anymore. I can't just have a character wander in on a new character they don't know, for example, because I'm clicking on somebody that's my friend and saying, hey there, who the fuck are you? Oh, this is does alt. Oh, okay, let me get you.
Yeah, like in World of Warcraft and Star Wars The Old Republic or Everquest 2, at least in Star Wars, they couldn't be more than one instance. But there's a little button on the bottom that says how many instances there are, and you can then go to the one that's probably got more people in it. You know,
right. You can go to the one that has all the people on your friends list.
You can't do that on these mega servers.
Yeah, you can't do that at all.
Yeah,
and it sucks.
So and
it automatically creates a problem because it encourages people, in my opinion. Now, this is my little soapbox. It encourages people who mix, who script, who, in my opinion, cause 99% of the drama and the problems, into having more power than I think they should. Yeah. And they then get to dictate to people, like, if the only place that you can go to meet other RPers and use as a kind of a central point so that you can figure out where everybody is at, has a major hard-on for telling people how to RP, you are forcing people to go to these control freaks to find RP, and there's going to be people who are like, this just isn't worth it. I'm going to go somewhere else.
Right, even if it's the ones, and I'm not saying anything about the ESO RP people that run that place. A lot of them are good. I don't think they're...
I don't know if they are or not.
I don't think they're a problem, but there are, on a lot of these games, there are people that run those sites, like the people that run, like, MMORPG at Reddit, the subreddit for that. Those people are fucking they're just on a power trip because they just happen to be the first, and they'll ban anybody that does anything they don't like me, which I wear as a badge of honor because they're douchebags. So
well said, sir.
But the other part of that, other than and also finding a RP guild, which still leads you into needing somebody else to help you find the roleplay. So, but once you get through that barrier, and you know where to find it, it's actually a lot easier. It's found a lot easier, and it takes a little bit of effort, especially at the start. But once you get there, you can find there's definitely a lot of RP to be had in ESO, and it is a very wide-reaching community. And if you get into a section of it that is not for you, try to find the other section, which again leads you back into the you gotta hunt and peck for it. And that's kind of the downside to the ESO and the mega servers.
And like the only ways that I can find open random RP is Riften. And that automatically means I have to contend with trolls.
Because they know where to find you, yeah.
Right, constantly. Because the trolls know where we are, and all the ERPers are out there with their hand down their pants, typing with one hand, going, "Hers, doctor me." And you don't get a lot of the quality RP that you're looking for, but if you don't slog through all that crap, you're never going to find it. And so I kind of mentally ignore the people that I know are like that, and I simply seek out people who are interested in story. And I've met some amazing people in ESO that are fun to roleplay with and that are into story and development. Romeo is one of them who's really become a core group of roleplayers for me.
Yeah,
he's really come a long way, and he's definitely a gem in the rough. Because I cannot stand going to Rift anymore, and it's just worn on me to the point. And maybe it's like Ash, and I just burn out of seeing the place. I'm like, no, I choose life.
All right, so
I gotta admit,
moving on
even
from ESO,
I am reticent to go there anymore.
Moving on from ESO now, because we've got every game left to go. World of Warcraft. This is one we don't actually have. None of us play World of Warcraft, so we gotta have to go off of this of what we've heard. We did get one just before the show. Carrier. I'm sorry, I don't know. CAEIR. I don't know how to pronounce that. From our Discord said, really my own experience has been with WoW, and it's been comparable experiences I've heard on the show. My biggest complaint is similar in that people do push strict lore-abiding practices, but it tends to be fewer from what I've seen of late. But I think the biggest downside is there isn't as much social RP outside of guild groups. If you're an active RP guild, it's great, but outside of that, it's less ideal. Which does kind of go with what we hear from things like Goldshire, where people were getting in trouble for using like emotes in the game that made it look like you were splooging on other people and harassing them. Ugh. So Goldshire is basically the quicksands of Final Fantasy XIV. It's where the ERPers go, or Riften in ESO. It's where you can find, it's a wretched hive of scum and villainy kind of thing. Yeah. But from what I hear, our friend Ericus, who I wish had said something, because he's our WoW expert. He seems to have enjoyed the roleplay he has, but it does seem as though you've got to actively find the good in it, because there is so much of the ERP, and it is of these MMOs, North American MMOs, it is the biggest of all of them still, even after all these years, with somewhere around 5-6 million subscribers.
It's true.
So it's got a massive community, and within that community, of course, there's role players. I wish we had more information on this. It's kind of sad. The biggest MMO is the one none of us know anything about, really. But it's really hard. How many times have we tried to get into it, Sib, since your brother? I think we've tried 3 separate times to try to get.
Yeah, and
I just can't do it. Yeah, there's something. It's just, I think it's such a massive, intimidating game. It's so reticent of everything we've already played. It's like I've played this. I've already played this before. Is kind of the feeling I get. I've already hunted 14 snow rabbits. I don't want to hunt 14 more. So the WoW community, again, it's kind of. It seems like there's some real diamonds in the rough, but it definitely has being the biggest also does not mean being the best, I would say, because you with for probably every one good role player, you've got 10 ERPers, and for every one ERPer, you've got 10 trolls on top of them doing it over and over again.
Oh yeah.
So I hate to jump off of WoW so quick, but that's kind of all we know. So moving on to Swtor, Star Wars: The Old Republic. I think it has a decent RP community, but a good number of the ERPers that just hang around on the fleet to get some fuck. They're not. I don't really
The
consider
majority
that
of roleplay has gone in guilds and personal one-on-one
into housing and stuff like that.
Yeah, and there isn't a lot out there unless you're in a community already, or you go through the various websites.
Yeah, that's how you.
Forums
Is that how you
find
found those
someone.
unseen guys?
No, every
Did you just-
person that I roleplay with right now, I
Was
have
just
bumped
through
into
that?
on the fleet.
So you managed to bump into one of them, and they introduced you to the rest
Yes.
of them. See, and that's the
I
way
actually,
I would
I
prefer
actually
it
bumped
too.
into two of them almost at the same time, a day apart.
Okay.
And then they both saw I was there, and they both came at the same time, and I interacted with both of them. I had not even put them on my friends list yet.
Right.
They were one of those very stoic, dark
Yeah.
Sith,
And they're
it's
a pretty
really hard.
lore-centric Sith
And
too.
so all she knew is that they were interesting.
Yes.
And I just, and to be honest, and this is why I know I'm in a minority here, but I love places like Riften and what was the name of that place in Guild Wars 2? The bar there that I always
that
went
one's
to.
it's too far gone for me to remember that
Yeah,
one.
I can't even remember it. But and then
Blood
the fleet,
Haze,
which now
that
used
kind
to
of
be
thing, yeah.
random roleplay in Tor used to be much better, but they've all moved into. There's not much Jedi that want to roleplay, or it's all private.
I was going to say, on that note, Jazz, y'all seem to find all kinds of roleplay on the Empire side. I found none, at least none of worthy to be mentioned on the Republic side.
No, and that's
Like
the general
Ghost-
consensus, that there really isn't. A lot of people roll Jedi on the dark side and then just play a Jedi, which stretches believability, because you can't even, if you were walking around on the fleet and you with a bunch surrounded by Sith and you're a Jedi, you're dead. And I do not understand how they can stretch the lore around that, but
right.
whatever.
Which goes to the next part. Lore-wise, it's very loose overall. Grey Jedi,
Yes.
Revenites using both sides of the Force like he did. Personal shields that make someone indestructible, which has happened to be not this time around, but the first time. I shot at somebody, and because they were carrying someone off, and they're just like, they looked over their shoulder and was like, personal shields. Like, dude, yeah, those aren't infinite. They do have a limit. Nothing doesn't make you indestructible. You're god modding.
or those dudes that take the extended universe stuff like Yal Samari and like, by the way, I have one. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you saw.
They don't detach from their trees, bro. It doesn't matter. I have a negative force bubble. Okay, bro, whatever.
Right. There's and it's just so much. There's so much lore that no longer. It doesn't apply at this time because it's not even widely known, or things haven't happened yet, and they're taking the Grey Jedi stuff. It's just very, very loose. There are some really great RP guilds, like the Unseen People that you bumped into, Jazz.
Yeah,
that
really
are
cool.
very lore strict, and they play Sith as you should.
They've also
play a
gone
Sith.
very, very quiet suddenly, so I don't know if they're even active anymore.
Yeah, they may have. Yeah, and it happens.
Real life is
Yeah.
bitch, and I know a lot of them are just busy working and dealing with stuff, so they may just have gone quiet for a little while.
Yeah, and by the way, Fanatical Sloth in the chat, when we're talking about World of Warcraft, the food of Night Elves, yes, I would assume that there's a lot of that as well.
The Sun. Thank you, Irkus. Yes, the Sun. I used to go to the Sun in Guild Wars too. But anyway.
Oh,
that's
okay.
Tor.
Yeah. But yes, that's... Oh, thank you, Hellcat, for following. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So, where was I on this? But you do have to actively search for lore-following guilds. And even within that, you're going to find, people that stretch it or push it or, do the Solamiri thing. And you just kind of just move your head to the side and try not to look directly at it, I guess.
On the flip side, Ash, and instead of seeing Driss Erdin all over the place, I see variations of Thrawn all over the place.
Right.
Yes.
Or like Groundwalker. Something, I don't know.
Skyhopper, Groundwalker,
Right.
Tree Climber, like you name it.
Right. Darth Feelings, Swolo Ren.
Oh, no. I love it.
I saw a shirt for that the other day. It was Swolo Ren's gym, and it just had him and his big, massive chest. But beside that, the community feeling, I'd say the RP can be is easy to find on the fleets, but hard to find good RP on the without
Good RP
trial
is
and
hard
error.
to find.
Right.
You're slogging through ERPers and people who are role-playing out the storyline,
Right.
and people who are painfully new and don't really know that they can't play a Jedi from 500 years from now.
Yeah, 2000 actually. This is 2000 before Skywalker. So.
Oh yeah, okay, 2000. But anyway, a long time.
Right, yeah.
And they haven't bothered to read any lore. Oh, I didn't think I had to do that.
Right.
The best roleplay
yeah.
I've ever had in that game was one time when you read Twilight and met me on a neutral planet, and it was a small talk, and it was like literally a debate about the Force,
Mm-hmm.
and her tune had long ago done something horrible, killed his master, and then tortured him, but he escaped. And she was kind of poking around because Zamira Luki's blind. He's like, "Oh, by the way, I forgive you." She come back and chat with me. She flew for the door, man, like her pants were on fire, and it was great. But that was only one time in that game, and it's so hard to find it if you're playing a good guy.
Yeah, playing the Jedi side of that is, well, I mean, in a lot of those games.
And we need to just start meeting back at when we're on our good characters to come to Nar Shaddaa, and then we can join up there. And
yeah. Well, and that
interact
was the
there
other
at least.
problem. The neutral ground of Nar Shaddaa. I've checked it out several times, and it's completely dead. There's nobody ever there unless like we did a thing briefly there with your unseen people,
and 4 people came to watch it. By the way,
yeah, and
we were there,
but not participate.
No, they didn't participate.
Right.
They did
It's
watch.
like-
They were fascinated.
But
Scourge of the Watches.
Yeah. So yeah, it's Star Wars, and I know it's actually kind of been since the Final Fantasy XIV expansion came out, and ESO as well. They both kind of came out within a month of each other, and it did have an impact on Tor that I could tell. Those are all usually temporary. If someone really loves the game, they'll end up flittering back to it, especially in September when Onslaught comes out, and it's their turn to take people from other games.
Yeah.
So
it's really quiet right now for that reason because
Yeah.
Final Fantasy's full bore.
Yeah, and doing very well, as I said earlier, with
Unlike
reviews.
ESOs, yeah.
Yeah, poor ESO. We got dragons. We've seen dragons. It's not the pool you seem to think it is.
Again, like you said earlier, they're bending the lore to do that.
Right, because it wasn't Skyrim was first time they're supposed to be seen in 1,000-something years. So not anymore, except for that one time when they appeared way down south. But we're up in Skyrim,
those are
so
drunk
we wouldn't have heard about that.
trust them.
Yeah, they're all on moon sugar and sniffing catnip. So moving on to Final Fantasy XIV, the community has it's kind of got a silly, relaxed feel to it to me, due to the nature of Final Fantasy in general, as Jazz so
Balloon
lovingly
head
puts. With
muskrat for starters,
right. And also, getting on the RP server was very, very difficult. Balmung was the unofficial roleplay server forever, and it's been full since time immemorial. They have...
which is weird because I would say there's probably only 50% RPers there, if that.
But I have to say, though, of games, Balmung is, as unofficial roleplay servers go, it definitely has the highest concentration of role players I think I've seen in any game. Like, just the sheer number of them everywhere. Because you know that because they got the little RP tag. And it's quite actually a bit to get to it. But they've made that easier since I got back. I think I mentioned last time they have the data centers, and so long as you pick a server on that data center, which the secondary now, other than Balmung, is Mateus. If you make a character on Mateus, you can actually just do a server world hop temporarily, go over to Balmung, roleplay, and when you log out, boop, you're back on Mateus. Now, you can't buy houses and stuff on Balmung, mostly because nobody can and hasn't been able to for 3 years now, outside of buying it from somebody else. So, but they did make that a little bit easier, which is good. So now people can actually, if someone from Balmung wants to go play on Mateus, they can do the same thing as well. If they're like, there's nothing going here on this server, I can pop over there. So that's definitely helped with the roleplay there. But the people are they're pretty helpful. But there's a lot of ERP instead of Fuda Night Elves. We have Fuda. What are the big people called? I want to say Rogadin, but I don't think that's right. Maybe that is right. I think that is right. Yeah, a lot of big dick chicks. But and you know that because they put it in the in-game bio, so you know that up front, right there, that there's something swinging down below, left and right.
I'm scared, bro. I'm very scared.
Left and right. Yeah. It's a little scary. But, so at least you know up front. I actually kind of missed that. That's something EverQuest 2 did, where you could have your bio. And while the one in Final Fantasy 14 is short, it's smaller than like an old Twitter, like 140 characters thing. But it does get you the pertinent information you need to know if somebody's not into, if they're into roleplay, if they don't like gore, or if they're not into ERP, or if they are into ERP. You know that by just clicking and inspecting them, and you kind of know what you're getting before you interact. So you can not engage, pull up, or out, pull out.
Oh no.
What? So they do have, they definitely have it's a far more relaxed environment, it seems to me, for Final Fantasy 14. It's a lot of anime tropes and Japanese kind of trope, anime and weeaboo, that kind of thing. And there's a lot of fun to be had there, but it's kind of turning into a theme. Have to slog through a lot of the ERP garbage to actually find cogent and interesting roleplay that doesn't involve putting someone's dick in someone else's dick. Don't ask me how that's possible, but
I don't want to know, man.
What?
I've seen some things spelled out.
Okay.
You can't be things have been read that can't be unread. So the community feeling overall, I'd say it's easygoing. RP hotspots are easy to find. Deeper RP does exist, but will depend on your guild and those around you to create it more than the lore does. The lore, it suffers from the same thing like ESO did early on, where you're the warrior of light, and there are none like you except for literally everyone around you. So, and you do have a lot of people that can play as the Warrior of Light. They shouldn't, but they do. And you just have to ignore them, as we all do. But overall, I'd say I'm interested to see how if it's changed. The guild I found, I read through their list of rules, and they're all stuff I agree with. They don't care if you ERP, but they have a lot of like, don't be making crude, nasty, sick jokes about all sorts of stuff in their chat, that kind of thing. Yeah, yes, Fanatical Sloth, Final Fantasy World was very ugly to work with. They had a lot of really great world stuff, and there's a lot of good things there, but given that everything that you learn of the lore all focuses around one individual saving the world time after time after time with a small group of people around him, it does make it a little harder to follow than, say, like ESO's, at least laser expansions, how you're not really such the special guy, you're just some random dude, I guess. It seems like as things went on. One that we're going to hit here that's not really around, except it kind of is. City of Heroes. This was from Malfunction from RPHQ. He had to say, of City of Heroes is not helpful there because the lore basically allows for anything. It's very open. There's only a few real anchor points, and the game does a good job providing that info. He also said that there is an emulator called Homecoming, being the bigger of the RP community. So apparently there are emulators for City of Heroes out there. Look up City of Heroes emulator Homecoming. That's the one with the big RP community. If you weren't aware of that and you're a fan of City of Heroes, you can go there. But the City of Heroes did have a fascinating thing. I know the role players there, they adored the game because there was a loose lore around it, and it was all superheroes, so almost everything was on the table, really. And you could just kind of find your own little slice of heaven. And your character creator was fucking badass awesome and included damn near everything you could ever want to make a superhero. But unfortunately, NC Soft came along and said, we don't want successful video games. We want to focus on the mobile market. And closed it. And then, I guess we could hit EverQuest 2. I think a few of us have played it. Anybody?
Just maybe.
Anybody
Just a bit.
Anybody heard of this by chance? In fact, I wrote in this, don't need to rewrite this. I think we can do this one off the top of our heads. Oh, no. Actually, I put hour, like the hour of time heads.
Oh, yeah, I don't know why you did that. That was
because I was typing this quickly because that literally was the least important game that I needed to type anything for. But someone did put a side note here. In EQ1, I remember there being a tight community in the beginning because, like, New Englanders in winter, we're all in this shit together, so we just shrug through and start shoveling, which I'm going to guess with the New Englander reference is Yunfei.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I put that together. I'm smart like that.
No, I was on Rod Set Knife, which was not a roleplay server.
Okay.
But there were a lot of role players. And what was cool was we didn't know about each other until we bumped into each other and started role playing. Or like you would be role playing with your guild or a friend or whatever, and then some random person would run by and stop and be like, "Hey, they're role playing. That's cool." And then they'd hop in, and it was just really cool.
So it's kind of
that was in the beginning, though.
Like living in New England and finding that one person that also lives in New England that hates the Patriots, like the rest of the country hates the Patriots.
Oh my God! Do not say that in Maine. You will get French.
We're gonna bring back an old-fashioned lynch mob. Get the non-believer.
Yep.
He don't like Brett Favre. I don't know who the fuck plays
I don't like
football.
him. Hey, it's what it is.
I don't even think I said his name right. Brett Favre. Farfenugan. Hey.
Well, I know when I started playing EQ2, was not on a roleplay server, and we immediately found a roleplay guild and joined and had a lot of fun. And prior to that, my RPG had really just been either D&D or like, LARP and things like that.
Right.
So I was really excited and I had a lot of fun. And then I heard about Antonia Bale, and I was like, "Oh, I wanna make a character there." And my husband says, "Only crazy people are there."
That's
right?
nerd shit.
I'm like, "But there's role play. I want to go see."
It's creative writing, sweetie. Which,
So
by the
I
way,
went-
is ironic that your husband had that thing because he turned out to be an awesome role player.
Oh, he is, but he
Yeah.
is a role player. He was a role player then. He just felt that people that focused only on role play were a little crazy. And he wasn't wrong.
He's not
judging by
wrong.
all the things we found in too.
Wasn't his original name like Triton Boring or something like that?
Yes, that was going to be his original name was Triton Boring. That was going to be his original because he was Triton, and he didn't tell. The thing is that I went there by myself with someone else that I had met on the server that I was on at the time, and he and I rolled characters. And for those of you that remember, Vaka's early story is that she was rescued and raised by an Ixar. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
That was the guy that brought me there, and he played Vaka's guide. And we had a great time role-playing. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But he left, I forget why, and didn't come back to the game for 8 years.
Had his tail removed, I heard. It's a long
whatever.
procedure.
He disappeared. But anyway, I was playing Toyana at that point because I couldn't get any traction with Vaka really, and I would log on to her late at night, and I would go to the big organizational meetings at the Haze where everybody would meet and role play, and I would sit there and I would take notes on who was with who and who was after who and who hated who, and I just took all these notes on Vaka, and I did it for years. But that's how I started there, and then I would play Toyana during the day, and he brought Triton in and tried to rescue my character. And of course, I didn't know who he was because we didn't have access to that kind of information back then. So I did not know it was him until one day when he got into it with my character's master. And I walked into back to get a drink. And he was cackling like Tilda does when he's And I peeked in and I saw Triton. And I was like, you ass, that's you? And he's like jumped out of his skin and he goes, woman, stop walking so quietly. It was really funny.
Yeah. But overall, the community, not the individuals, the community at the beginning was awesome.
It was awesome. There were so many role players and it was so story involved.
And it wasn't
I know there was a lot of ERP, but
and unlike Star Wars,
important.
There was a lot of good guy role play as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't one-sided at the first 5-6 years, you'd say. There was a Vagabond Nights, the Knights of Kinos.
Spider,
there was
the Eensy Spider.
There was so
many. The one thing about that too, you in order to get to these roleplay hotspots, you had to dodge the guards.
You did.
Yep.
Yeah,
so
if you were in the other faction,
yeah. So like if there was, I don't know, like a wood elf sitting in the haze, you knew that they busted their ass.
They went through the sewer system. They dodged guards.
They went through
the sewers to get there because that was no slouch.
That's how I got there with Xanis at the beginning.
We had bad guys come over to Kinos doing the same thing in those little spots. But I will say, the roleplay community was great on both sides, and then slowly the good side dwindled until it was gone. And I literally had to make a bad guy to go play on the other side.
Yeah,
it
did slowly.
I was like, my guy, Tristari, he's not going to go over there. Are you kidding me? So I had to start over.
Yeah,
but the community stayed alive for years after that. It just dried up on one side.
Then the community started souring when I think the biggest thing was when the developers took out the Haze. Yeah, they took out a major role play. It'd be like if Star Wars decided, you know what, we don't need fleets anymore, or World of Warcraft was like, you know what, we don't need the Goldshire anymore. We're just gonna delete the entire zone, or that whole building's gone.
That the Riften didn't need to be there anymore. That the taverns were going to be filled up with NPCs,
they're going to pave it over and put in a parking lot. That's literally what they did.
Which is what they did to the Haze. They literally put a parking lot there.
Yeah. The only thing
no one used.
They parked cannons on it, but that was basically the same thing.
No one used it. No one. It was never used for anything ever again.
I do like this thing. Hellcat said in the chat, what's disturbing and sad is the ERP communities that go from one MMO to another to grind pixels with people.
Grind pixels. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. I had to put that in there. We had to put that out there. But yeah, and then
more like the Mario sound.
That really is a more accurate sound.
Yes, it would. Yeah, I can't make digital noises though. I can't. I'm not that talented. I am talented. Don't get me wrong. Amazing.
It just slowly got so incestuous that there was only
there were a few heads of the community that got
they decided
giant
they had
heads.
to control what everybody role played and what everybody did.
Yeah, and then of course, once Daybreak Games took over, the quality of the game itself went so low.
Well, it was already struggling.
Right, it was already
really
that was just the final nail in the coffin for almost. There's a few people. There are still people there role playing, and I'm sure there are some good people there role playing still. And there are. No community is, we speak in generalities because we have to. We can't go well this one person here and this one person here. And I don't know everybody. But as a whole, the community just became excessively toxic, and it's only increased in toxicity as Daybreak Games has continued to fuck up the game. Which, by the way, fun fact, they actually recently said that they do have plans and are looking into something forever. They have plans for the franchise in regards to Everquest 3, in which my hope is that the plans for the franchise are to sell it to anybody more competent.
Does it involve a large smelly dump and some tinfoil?
That's pretty much, and some lighter fluid, so we can
we
have
fell for that once, guys.
Fire. Yeah,
not doing it again.
Yeah, that's too bad. Like EQ and EQ2 were
Yeah, it's an amazing franchise. It's one of the
Yeah.
original big franchises, and they've because of all that stuff, they just fucked it up. Thanks, Russia.
There's a reason I'm still
Ruining
playing Project
everything.
1999 randomly.
Mhm.
And you're right. Once it got so toxic, once we left, it got worse.
And you know what's funny?
Back in.
You say that, Strafe, because they have in EverQuest 1, you can pay to play on an old progression, basically 1999 servers, and yet you still don't, because I think the Project 1999 servers are still better than the ones that they're officially doing.
Well, yes, because they stopped in classic, variant.
Yeah,
Tavelius and no more, and that's when the grading was great before they made it too easy, and then people started not working together anymore, and you actually had to talk to people and work together versus you can just go here and you'll never have to work with anybody because it's not the same game.
Yeah, it's like what we were saying beforehand. I've been playing through, as I said, I've been playing through Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood. The only time I've done that game with another individual was when the main story quest required me to go to a dungeon with 4 people, which I just click on the dungeon finder. 7 minutes later, boop, I'm in a dungeon. We never say anything to each other. Nobody has to talk to one another. We go through the dungeon, we finish it. We all say GG at the end, and we leave. That's it. I've been playing an MMO solo. I'm basically playing Final Fantasy XIV, the solo.
It's even harder because in Final Fantasy XIV, I have a white mage. Oh my god, what's the name of the class? The one that has you draw cards and it can be like a buff or.
I want to say alchemist. I know that's not right. It's not anarchist. It's something with an A.
Yeah. Well, that was my character. Is a white mage.
The card drawing. Yeah, the Yu-Gi-Oh character, right?
Yeah, and trying to solo like that was pretty rough.
Yunfei, it's because you don't believe in the heart of the cards. It's a Yu-Gi-Oh reference.
I've never seen Yu-Gi-Oh.
No,
I'm way too old for that.
And yet I'm 40, still know it. Just that kind of sad, but. Overall, EverQuest 2's it's actually a sad thing because we loved that community from the get-go, and we got to slowly watch something we loved just die a slow, gangrenous death.
Yep.
And still watching it from afar, just watching the game, not even the roleplay, just watching our favorite games die from the sidelines. It's just like
there's always like a little twinge of hurt.
Yeah, every time I see something EverQuest, I'm like, oh, here we go. I gotta click on it. Daybreak Games says, at
least with SWG, you had the great EMU crisis that destroyed their own game from within.
Yeah,
and it lingered on for a little while, then completely died. This one, we're like still watching on live support.
Yeah, it's like if that had lingered, if they didn't close it down when they did, they just let it continue on, brain dead. Slowly rotting away. It's basically, anybody that watched the Chernobyl series, when you saw the guys that were irradiated and their skin was translucent, that's the stage of EverQuest 2 at this point. EverQuest 1 is actually healthier than that. It's bleeding out of every orifice. The veins are so falling apart you can't even administer morphine to alleviate the pain. Just put a bullet in its head and let it be done. So Lord of the Rings Online, in my opinion, and I think many people here, of those of us that have played it, is the most lore-strict RP community in any game anywhere, hands down.
That's not surprising.
Yeah. It's the people that RP in Lord of the Rings are huge Tolkien fans, and they're very loyal to the source material. They know it. They love it. They want to stay with it. There's no way to make that rhyme. There's a song, but it doesn't work. So in this game, no tolerance for half-ware vampire halflings.
Or incorrect grammar or incorrect
punctuation.
Yep. Like a bunch of English teachers.
Yeah.
Yes. It really
only worse.
And it is the epitome of the push-up glasses. Actually, Rohan, writers of Rohan, were all known for, I don't know, running when the beacons were lit because Gondor calls for aid. I don't fucking know. I don't know enough about Tolkien. I think the books are aberration, and they're not as interesting or good as people make them out to be because the writing is very boring.
Sacrilege, sir! Sacrilege!
You know,
Details.
you can definitely skip more than a few chapters,
Right.
and still
which
get
is
the full story.
It's like
You know what?
the Game of Thrones.
I don't know you
books.
two anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know you two.
And
I didn't say it was bad.
I'll be
I just
honest.
said-
The Lord of the Rings books were not terrible. The Halfling was damn near unreadable. I know it's sacrilege. It's
Okay.
the greatest
Hang on,
fantasy
hang on.
game of all time. You know what? Merry and Pippin, those were bad enough. Bilbo was a fucking moron.
The only way I'll agree with you is I love The Hobbit. I love, Return of the King. All those 3 trilogies. The problem is, yes, they are detail heavy. If you try to read the prequel, The Silmarillion, you will pull your hair out.
Oh, yeah,
I've
I've heard
pulled
about
my
that
hair out.
one.
I can't finish it, and that's the elven story. Like, I love elves.
Well,
I can't do it.
here's my problem with The Hobbit. I hate musicals. How many fucking songs do those dwarves sing in that goddamn book?
I mean, they're jolly, bro.
Right. Yeah, go fuck your jolliness. I want a dwarf that cusses farts and pulls the beard of his female dwarves to get it on like it should be.
That's Faerun, bro. That's D&D.
Which I like the Lord of the Rings movies. The Hobbit should not have been made into 3 movies. That was an abortion of epic proportions. I didn't read the books. I didn't finish the book.
I mean, it was kind of the opposite of an abortion, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was like they took a bunch of fetuses and tried to push it all in their back at once. It's a reverse abortion.
We're terrible.
See, that was the quest for more money, bro. That's what that was.
Yeah, it was bad. But no, I'm not a big fan. I mean, I appreciate them for the history and the writing of what they did, but it is very dry, and I really hate musicals, so I'm not a fan of The Hobbit. But the community there, they've got some awesome. I mean, they actually have some really cool things that no other game has. The ability for your character to actually use in-game instruments and like play music, like actual music. You can look up things for different instruments, and like people have. I remember when I was playing, I was curious.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
You could actually like have a group of people.
Play all at once.
Yeah.
And like, I think I saw somebody do like Bohemian Rhapsody, like a group of them all at once.
Yeah,
there was
that
no
is pretty
singing,
cool.
but
That
they
might
had
have
the
been me.
notes. Yeah, and that made for like I actually looked up one. Somebody had actually, because I have the musical equivalent of a jar of mayonnaise, looked it up and copy and pasted it, but it was the theme to MacGyver. The dun 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 dun. It was that. I did that in Lord of the Rings because obviously I'm a friend of the lore. It was funny, but that makes the RP in taverns really kind of unique and amazing because unlike, Red Diamond playing for the 15,000th fucking time in ESO, you have people making actual music. You have bands of role players that will go to taverns and play songs legitimately.
Not like old
I remember
SWG when you had a band going to somebody's town. And
Well,
the Creedles, I remember them well.
But even that was only provided from in-game music. This
is true.
You could really get like so. I'm sure there's probably people in there that like playing the Harry Potter theme or something on their instruments, and it's just kind of neat.
And if I remember right, you could right click on someone and sync with them too.
Yes,
so
yes,
that you
it
could
was
get
all
like
syncable.
the whole song. Yeah, I remember that.
You could have a literal band, or I don't know how. I'm sure there's got to be a limit. I'd imagine orchestra might be out of the frame of reference. It is MIDI music.
I have seen the Hobbiton Philharmonic Orchestra before. It's amazing.
Is it really? Is it? But it
is beyond amazing.
And it is MIDI, MIDI for those of you that weren't around when the internet started, and you'd click on a website and it would be like kind of thing.
Otherwise known as chiptunes, I think.
Yeah, everything sounded like it was from an 8-bit Nintendo, or maybe if you were lucky, a Super Nintendo, if it was really good. But that was honestly, that was my absolute favorite feature outside of maybe like housing in EverQuest 2 in any MMO, was the ability to create music like that.
You are right though when you said the fanatics, because those are the true Tolkien true believers in that game. And I never got the chance to play it because I was broke at the time. but the folks that did were like, bro, you have to be on top of your stuff. You got to speak right Elvish. And I was like, dude, I ain't got time for that.
Right.
I didn't even have time for that in EQ2 doing their wannabe drow, which was, Dark Elf drow,
Right.
D&D drow. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah. No.
But hey, they do their thing, and they love it.
Yeah, and if you're a real fan, or if you want to be and you're willing to jump through the hoops of the lore and make sure you know your shit and don't talk about one thing I would say, don't talk about stuff you don't know anything about in that game if you're role playing, because they will call you on it. They're very much less forgiving than some people, but it's still a strong. It's because of their loyal fandom. It's a very strong and tight knit community of role players, and I think if you're wanting to get into it, they will definitely they'll probably throw you on a buddy system, and you'll have to have a couple shadow days of following somebody around, and so you make sure you don't flub anything and run by people far smarter and more lore knowledgeable than you are. Moving on to Black Desert Online. Anybody else play this other than me?
No, I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Did you play this with me at all, Sib?
I played.
You played a little with me.
But not very much.
Yeah, because it's a very different, very
I heard
fast-paced
it was
game.
grindy, and that was enough for me.
Right. It's fun at first until you get to level 55. There actually is no level cap in this game, but you get to 55, and it's 10 times the experience of any previous level to get.
Yeah,
to
I've seen the game. It looks real pretty, but I've
very
played the
pretty
Silk
game.
Road online, and it's very Asian grindy. That game was, and I looked at that and went, "No, I'm good."
It's
I've done that before.
It's an Asian MMO that came over to American markets or Western markets, because it's Europe too. Every place is America. The RP community is strange because the lore in BDO is kind of like that of Dark Souls. Like, it's there, but it's really hard to find, and there's also giant gaps in it. At least it does have the benefit you're not the warrior of the chosen light or anything stupid like that. So, but there's also not really a story to it. There's a lot of lore for the world in general that does make for good role play. But it's really, really difficult to find. It might be easier to find now. They've had several expansions or add-ons. I don't know what the hell they call. Another one of the problems with it too is classes are gender locked. So you play what, I forget what the classes are, but whatever class you play, it's that gender and that species only.
That's just artistically lazy.
Really, that's pretty much what it is. And like, they had a most recent one, and it's
lazy devs.
It's basically a giant-eared, cutesy halfling thing. It's like a cross. If a halfling had a baby with a Lalafell from Final Fantasy XIV that had gnomish ancestry with the giant ears, this is kind of what it looks like.
I'm afraid, man.
Yeah. So the gender and race lock thing, it really is difficult. And the other part is it was pretty standard with the demon possessed ERPers. Sib, you remember that one guy that was always had the red eyes, and he was like, "I'm part demon." Like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then what did he find? He found another chick that was also half demon. So I guess together they made one whole human and one whole demon. I don't know, but they were always bumping uglies, and it's just very sad. But when you got out of that, there were a lot of story-driven roleplay. But the weird thing about this was because it was such a Twitch-based, it's a very Twitch-based game, not the Twitch.tv kind of thing, but like it's all in your reflexes and in your level. And when it comes to the game mechanics, it's very fast-paced and very all over the field. You don't stand in one spot and click things over and over and over, or just dodge the red circles. You are literally diving into groups of NPCs when you're fighting, or if you're having a duel in combat, one-on-one with another player. There was an arena we would go to, and you would literally you'd just be all over that arena. You would start out in the middle, and you could be on one side, and then you would end up in the other, because the way you would dodge, is like 10 meters out of the way, and then they would to you, and then you would back out, and then you would in, and it's just, you're everywhere. The other weird thing was the housing was instanced, Kind of. Right, Sib? Like
that was the most frustrating thing ever.
it was weird, wasn't it?
It was.
Okay, so how to explain this is everybody knows what instancing is. Obviously, you're in your own little zone. So in EverQuest 2, when you would house, or in ESO, when you go to your house, you're in your own little instance, right? Okay, so now imagine if when you enter the house in a city, you are instanced into your house, but also still in the world. So on top of your house, when somebody enters that exact same door, they go into the instance of theirs, which is just layered on top of you. So when you look in these doors, you don't see the house. You just see a bunch of people standing around, but they see themselves alone in their individual house. So what does this do? This means that every time somebody emotes or uses /say, it's just out in the world, and you see that layer over layer over layer of everybody.
I am just baffled how they thought that was a good idea. On top of server lag and everything else, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine the spider web necessary to do that. That's just dumb.
Yeah, well, and these houses
were
next to each other. So if like somebody had made a tavern in one house, you would have we'll say
Right.
10 people in there, all chatting away. So 2 doors down, somebody else maybe they had another tavern. And you could see the chat transfer through the walls, and you could see the chat from both taverns. And
that would just be nightmarish.
It would be.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Right. So that was a pain in the butt. I mean, instancing housing is great, but not when you do it. Not when you only go halfway. It made for serious chat scroll, and it made it damn near impossible to roleplay at a city if more than one person was having roleplay within the chat bubble, so to speak, the radius. It was damn near impossible, and I know Sib fell out of it before I did, and then I followed along. I enjoyed the combat to a point, and then I hit the grind. I'm like, I am not an Asian MMO player. It was fun until it wasn't. And that did not take long.
That's what killed me in Silk Road, because it was the Asian grind. Like, go get me 20 of these. Okay, now go me 100. I'm like, no, I'm done.
Right. And what was that?
It was called the Silk Road Online.
Oh, Silk Road? I know.
It was a free MMO. It started off in China, and then their expansion was Europe, so then you could play a European.
Yeah, I had to take a look at that.
Let's see if I can find a link for you.
Yeah,
Hold on
I see it. Nope, don't remember that one at all.
You forgot Rift.
Oh, I did forget Rift. Well, I've said all I needed to say about Rift.
Their housing turned eventually
No.
into something really amazing, but
Go
by
ahead
the
and
time it did, the roleplay community was gone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, let me finish up BDO real quick, and you can hit on Rift real fast. Because yes, you're right. I did forget entirely about Rift, mostly because their guy characters are hideously
We're
ugly.
done with BDO. Sorry.
No, it's all right. Community feeling very loose without a lot of strict lore to base things off of. Not unhelpful, but I do recall a lot of ERP and a lot of edgelord RP. So it was fun for a time, but everything was extremely two-dimensional, and everything was basically based around the combat system. It was all the roleplay I could ever see. It was all about when's the next duel tournament kind of a thing. So Rift, go ahead and hit Rift, Jazz, because you're right. I blanked on Rift.
I never played it. You did initially.
I
You
did.
left us and went to Rift with Sib.
Very briefly.
Yeah, and I wandered to Rift during one of my absences from EQ between Tor and Guild Wars.
Okay.
And I tried, or after those two, then I went to Rift for a little while, and then I came back to EQ. I just couldn't get into it. The roleplay was really hard to find. There was no random RP at all. It was all arranged.
Mhm.
Yeah, and see, when Sib
could
and I
see that
played
it
it,
was
housing wasn't even
interesting
on
in
the
the
horizon
community.
yet.
They seemed to have a pretty nice little niche group that wasn't cliquish. They seemed very friendly,
Mhm.
but it was all, I mean, I do mean all scripted.
Mm.
Nobody did random RP at all. You wanted in, you had to ask permission, and they were more than happy to include you, but they'd give you your script ahead of time.
So if you wanted to buff someone randomly, you'd have to ask permission first. Strophe, I'm looking at you. Rude.
Actually, you couldn't.
Hey man, sometimes you just gotta buff folks. Know for the best.
You couldn't even do that in
No,
Rift.
you couldn't.
No, you couldn't.
No,
I joined
Rift
a group.
was disappointing. Yeah, overall,
I
when it came
joined
to
a
the
guild
dynamics
for
of it.
roleplay, and they were never on. But it allowed me then to go into the guild, some various guild places.
Okay, yeah.
Guild onlys.
It opened doors.
You had to be allies, and it was complicated. Anyway, so I went into this place and walked in, and they were like, "You should have asked permission before you came in." I'm like, "How am I going to do that when I don't know any of you?"
Yeah.
Well, we don't really include people we don't know. But then,
then how does
it? Well,
so which came first, Jazz, the chicken or the egg?
How is she supposed to meet us if we don't include strangers? Well, I left, and then a couple of days later, I was role-playing randomly out in the world with somebody, and the same 3 people that had kind of protested my existence came and started role-playing with me and included me, and I did eventually get into kind of a little role-play community there. But people would log out for weeks and then come back, and I couldn't role-play like that.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that.
Yeah, and for me, a big part of was the game itself was kind of disappointing because they promised these dynamic rifts and all this and that, and really once the mechanics were understood, it wasn't nearly so dynamic.
No, it was exactly the same as far as I could tell with EQ2. There was very little difference between EQ2 and Rift.
Yeah,
and a little bit of Guild Wars in there, but it was primarily just like EQ2, which is why I ended up, amusingly enough, going back to EQ2 at that point because I missed it. I've been playing their stuff, and I decided if I want to play this way, I may as well just go back to EQ, and I did. So, yeah.
So that was Rift. That was
Rift.
It was pretty. I forget who. I have to look that up real quick. Rift. Who made that game? Tryon. That's why. Yeah. I knew it was one of the ones near. They're kind of like NC Soft, but a little not as crappy. But Tryon does a lot of kind of games, and they have good ideas, but they sort of give up. Like they've got they're the ones that did Arcage, which I don't have on here either because I've got no experience in that game. I played for about a solid hour and it was like, nope, not for me.
Yeah, I think Ben and I played for a couple days. And
and they did Defiance, which was the one based the MMO that coincided with the sci-fi show in Trove, and one called Atlas Reactor, which I've never even heard of. So Tryon's, they're not a bad development group. They're just not great. So Guild Wars 2, and this Robin from RPHQ, she actually brought up an interesting fact in this one, and I'll just see if you'll pick it out when I get to it. She or he, I'm going to assume she because Robin's kind of a girl name, communities vary wildly between servers of the same game, even under the same community. European Guild Wars 2 community was a lot stricter with the lore and tended to lean a little more towards having groups that sometimes mingled with each other. I once read an analysis of the differences between NA and EU servers because it interested the community overall when it mixed. It compared the EU server mixed to a different It compared the EU server to a mix of different islands guilds floating around in a big sea, sometimes meeting each other, while the NA server was like a busy beach where people swam between the islands but never stayed for long. The NA server was also a lot more liberal with the lore, causing a fair few clashes with the EU server folks, i.e., North America would be fine with people using the Guild Wars 2 game to roleplay Game of Thrones or Time Lords or whatever, not actually part of the setting, while the EU gives would typically cut off ties and not acknowledge these people. So I thought that was kind of an interesting take, because I've never played on a European server.
No, I haven't either.
I've never even considered it just because lag. It's mostly, but it's kind of interesting to hear that what a difference between the European Guild Wars 2 community and the North American Guild Wars 2 community was.
Oh, no, and she nailed it, or he.
They.
That was my biggest problem with Guild Wars 2. was Time Lords and Game of Thrones and all that other bullshit was all in there. And they didn't follow the lore. They didn't follow the story that you were given. They didn't follow the examples that were given. They made up their own shit, and they just kind of went with this game. There was this huge noble roleplay thing.
The nobles, I
And-
remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and they had like a hierarchy that did not exist in game. And all this stuff that was roleplayed that wasn't, it was basically straight out of Game of Thrones, really.
Mhm.
And like I said, I left for a year and a half. I came back, nothing had changed, literally. All the same people doing all the same things with all the same people. So
Right.
I couldn't even stay because it was like, oh, this is so fucking boring.
Yeah, it
Have
was.
fun, guys.
That's kind of a shame too, because Guild Wars 2 actually they didn't have the Warrior of Light thing. But they did have dynamic storytelling in their
Yes.
lore in an evolving world. So the events
I
of the game,
loved that. I loved the shit out of that game. I had
should have been done as background, but
I had six main characters, 6 max characters. I loved that game. I loved to play it. I loved to roleplay in it. I had an active and extremely involved roleplay there, and I played there for 2 years. And I loved that place very much. I owned, my character was an owner, not owned like singular, but
Right.
was an owner of the Sun. Bought into the Sun and with the community, quote unquote, and ran the pretty much ran it. The rest of them didn't do anything. She ran the whole thing, and I had a blast. And when I left, I sold it to the next guy, and she sold her interest, her shares, I guess,
Mhm.
to the next guy. But it was the community seemed very tight knit. I never really had a big problem with them, but they were very sure that this noble shit was absolutely could not vary from it.
yeah,
But we
they
had
were.
people that were demons, and
In,
we
and if
had
you,
the Savari that was half human, and
and the noble people were very protective of letting anybody encroach on their.
oh yeah, you
Iron grip.
couldn't say, well, I'm a
I'm a noble
from a
too.
different area
Well,
or whatever.
no, you can't be. We don't acknowledge you.
If you were not there from beta, you were not welcome in their roleplay
Right.
as a noble.
Which
you could
is-
be some unknown, but you were not welcome in their little tight-knit
Yeah.
group. And they controlled, that community controlled every aspect of roleplay that happened at all
Yeah,
times.
it's kind of like the problem with Reddit is the first idiot that comes up with that, subreddit, they're the rulers of it, regardless if they're the best people to run it or not. Just
Right. And
just
they
just
literally
the fact of
chased
being
off-
first isn't good enough.
They chased off at least 50 role players that I enjoyed role playing with their BS.
Yeah.
So when I finally did leave, and I did go back and check a couple of times, my character is still, there, and I had her go back and hang out for a little while, and I got a couple of people who were like, "Oh my God, hi," but
Yeah.
largely I'm done with that.
Yeah, had to move on. Real quick, Hellcat said I had a little Asura girl in Guild Wars 2 who used to go around hugging Norn women because every time they did, she was squished between their boobs, and that made her so happy.
That's a solid plan right
It's a
there.
solid plan. It's a good plan.
I like that plan.
I like that plan. It's a good plan. Everybody says so. So
Everybody agrees.
we'll go on here to the Secret World, which largely this is from you, Uni, because she's the one that's seen it most recently. The community for the Secret World was quite positive, if a bit scarce, which that seemed to be my kind of take on it too. Sadly, I think the majority of the Secret World players are European, and thus kept missing primetime, which is kind of a bummer. It is kind of hard to
It's hard
role
to
play
roleplay
when
when
everybody's like,
everybody's
yes,
asleep."
well, it's 7:00 here. Well, time for bed.
Yeah.
It's already 1:00. Wait, no, it's only 7. Yeah. She said, you want to read what you? I mean, I guess this is literally. I don't have a lot of. The only Secret World experience I had was long ago at launch. So you want to? Do you have it up there to read what you put in there?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
I very rarely saw anybody just like randomly being a troll or a dick in chat. And if they were like immediately and swiftly rebuked by the community at large. And I even saw a few trolls genuinely apologize and then be welcomed into the community afterwards, which was kind of cool. Overall, I think the Secret World is a really good place to hang. And it seems like the people that play it want to keep it that way, and they don't really take anybody's crap like that.
Yeah, that's good.
When things like holiday events or just, random events came around, a ton of people showed up. Like pretty much everybody, like I don't know how the servers worked, because I'm pretty sure it was just like one big master
Yeah,
server.
I think so. Yeah.
But like pretty much everybody on the server showed up, and oh my gosh, the lag! But
Right. Yeah,
it was still a lot of fun.
As
and
it
everybody
was,
had
it's not
fun.
really it's a pretty clunky game to start with. So yeah, a lot of people all in one
Yeah.
place lagged out hard.
There were things like weekly dance parties and raves, random RP at the Horned God, which is a pub in,
London?
I think it's in London, yeah. But again, I think most of that happened during European prime time.
Yeah.
But yeah, like in my experience, everybody that I met was really welcoming, really nice. The guild I was in was a good example of that. They pretty much welcomed me with open arms, despite me still kind of being a noob.
And a dirty American.
Yep. Well, that's kind of how I figured it out, is because my guild, there was always somebody on, even if it was just like one or two people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I asked about it. I'm like, how come, whenever I log on, there's never anybody on? And they're like, well, where are you? I'm like, I'm in
America,
middle of United States. And they're like, oh, well, that's why.
Yeah, it's like 3:00 in the morning here. That's why.
Yeah. A couple were like, well, I'm in Australia. So like, oh, well, okay.
I love Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But yeah, they would send out like an invite to everybody in the guild to go and just, run scenarios and stuff. And if the group filled up before you could get in, they either went back a second time or they made another group. So you could always like experience what they were experiencing. And we always kept in communication through, the guild chat and stuff.
Yeah.
And if, again, being new to the late game content, they had no problem whatsoever teaching Ben and I about the fights. Everybody was super patient. And I also noted I never once saw anyone rage quit a dungeon. And my last thought was, I felt like I was playing with grown-ass adults. Like, it was just such an overwhelmingly positive experience.
Yeah, you don't get that a lot of even Final Fantasy 14 is a lot of rage quits, and almost all of them. I mean,
yeah, but it really felt like in Secret World, everybody that was there wanted to be there, and everybody that was there loved the lore. Which, as far as lore goes, I mean, it's basically
their quest system in that game is fucking stellar. It's the use of real world lore, is awesome.
Ben hates the investigation quests, but I absolutely loved them.
I thought they were
because
unique.
Like you actually have they encourage you to go looking outside of the game for answers. So the game's a little meta in that way too, because it's in relatively present day. So the lore is these.
Go to Google to look up the ship, the name of the what was it? You had to one of them. It was like the like lot code or something was the year a sailing ship from the 1400s sank. It was like 1489 or something like that. But you had to Google the name of the ship, and that was the code. And that was that the code wasn't in the game. You literally were supposed to use like Google to find that. Yeah, and that's exactly how that quest was done.
And I think it has probably my favorite lore for any game I've ever played. But I'm also a huge fan of mythology, fairy tales,
in like a modern day setting too.
Yeah. And they just did it so well. The stories were just absolutely amazing, and I never skipped through anybody's. Dialogue or anything like that, because it was all interesting and all voice acted and everything. So
It was
I
just
think
how
I was in grad
clunky
school
it
when that
was.
came out. I just had no time, so I mean, it's kind of neat to hear about it.
Yeah, it's a cool game. It was just it's just exceptionally clunky to play through and very jarring. The animations are rough as hell. The characters are very very boxy. The combat is very it's very clunky. It's a very
And they ruined AOC for it.
and they ruined AOC for it, but it's very clunky.
It's my entire behind because of it.
It's mostly like the raw mechanics are like, leave a little something to be desired, but like creatively the stories and the voice acting was great. Like it was genius.
Yeah,
the rest of it
if
was
no
just
one's ever
genius.
tried it before, I think it's actually free to play. You can with the option to buy in, basically. But it's worth, if you've never even tried it, it's worth at least giving it a shot.
The free to play version is not that bad either.
No, it's not like Star Wars: The Old Republic where you can't equip stuff that you used to own.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's more that like when you subscribe, you get extra things rather than
quality of life.
You have a free account, so you can't send tells to people. You can't, put this piece of clothing on, or you can't do this or can't do that. Yeah, it's not like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I encourage.
Thanks, EA. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I encourage anybody, like if you're into mythology and any kind of fantastic.
Don't get us wrong; it does still have a lot of the MMO tropes of go kill 10 zombies or Cthulhu's or something like that. But
you got Yufi's though when she's so animated. She's rarely so animated.
Yeah,
I love Secret World. I absolutely adore Secret World. Like I wish they would redo Secret World. Well, again,
just polish it up. Yeah,
like polish up and they did because the original Secret World was super clunky when it first came out, and then they were like, well, we hear you that it's clunky, and that there's these things wrong with it, so we're gonna fix it, and so they did.
Went from the Secret World to Secret World Legends, which changed.
The other thing I didn't mention, actually, I didn't scroll down and I forgot about it. The devs themselves are very, very active in the community. They stream every week. They throw events and run events themselves. They actually play the game.
This commercial for Secret World brought to you by Unify.
But like I said in the notes, whether or not they do a thing, they always listen to their players, and I thought that was really refreshing. And that's how EQ2 was at the beginning, because I actually remember partying with the devs. Actually, you remember?
Yep,
you were with me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like the devs and the community leaders were actually
they would bounce from server to server and goof around and play and do special events and hand out goodies and grab bags.
Or like they'd take over a mob and then just run around and be silly. But then they just stopped doing that.
Yeah, there were a few times they would play on like a god or Antonia Bale themselves and role play out.
Yes,
that stuff.
They did that in SVG as well.
Yep.
I remember Vader stomping around Theed. I was like, oh goodness.
Like what? They stopped. Well, I was gonna ask why.
Lazy.
Why did they stop doing that? But then it occurs to me that everybody got fired except for like 5 people.
Right.
So.
Yeah, well, and just any MMO, no MMOs do that anymore, hardly at all, except for Secret World. But
like you never see the devs or
play their own game.
Yeah, but you see that in Secret World all the time.
Yeah,
like they love what they have created, and I think that's really important.
Yep. So cool.
Yeah, just positive.
All right, well, we'll go to 2 dead ones, and then we're already. I know we're
biding
way over
my
here.
time for the next one.
We're already over, so we'll hit. What's this? Star Wars Galaxies.
Star Wars Galaxies, you fetcher.
Never heard of it. Sounds stupid. Moving on. Matrix Online.
Your face, bro. Your Your whole face.
We did have one guy, Captain Silly the Fish Sheriff from RPHQ said,
amazing name, by the way.
right. My experience in Star Strider,
SWG.
Star Cider on SWE was amazing for RP. The communities were accepted me as a lowly Cilia transfer. That's the other server. I got into RP guilds and RP plots, easy peasy. There was a ton of open RP out in the worlds ripe for the taking, and it was awesome. One of the best RP communities in my day.
It was alive on Gorath as well, but Starsider was the big locale for sure.
I
will say though, that community, it was either great or it was complete troll flamer. There was no middle ground whatsoever. And if you went on a group run to a dungeon with the hardcore folks, the flamers, there was none of this EQ1 or EQ2 work together. This was every man for himself, loot everything. Hey, we need that to open the door. I don't care. I didn't loot it. Dude, you clearly looted it. I don't know what you're talking about. Like it was either great or horrible.
But yeah, the roleplay community for Star Wars Galaxy was absolutely fantastic because it had unique classes like dancers and musicians and things that other games just flat out ignore. I mean, there's a dancer class in Final Fantasy XIV, but it's combat dancing. It's Krav Maga. It's not like ballet. It doesn't really count as the same. It's a combat class, but
they did do one cool thing. I know there's the player base is divided on it. Like Jedi killed the game, or whatever. There's a debate about that. Well, not the NG. When Jedi came out, because they said, "Oh, it killed the game." This and that.
Oh, right.
Actually,
before the NG,
if you worked your tail off and you grind and you poured your blood, sweat, and tears, you could unlock it. But then you literally had to live like Obi-Wan. So that was a cool dynamic.
Yeah, I never minded that. What I minded was when Jedi became a class. That was when they lost me.
Yeah, when it became a starter class, the NG, that was the end of the game anyway. So
yeah, the unlocking Jedi by doing. I mean, it was. I actually made an old comic on that. Like it was Yoda in front of Luke. It's like, Jedi you will be, but only after combat medic, dancer,
that's right,
musician. Trainer.
The whole process.
Terrace Costume Master, will you be?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like it was, and you never knew what it would be, but that was.
And the last one was silent. You didn't know. You just had to randomly grind them out.
Yeah, and I saw plenty of people. It was the luck of the draw, where of course the last one they needed to unlock that was the last one they picked.
And when they did the village, you had to unlock 4 sensitive skills via quest. They were hard, and they were only open for the month. You had to wait like a whole month for the next quest to come out. So they limited how many Jedi were getting to the pipe.
Yeah,
which was good.
Yep, and and the housing, as Hellcat just said, I loved the fact that you could take trash drops and place them in your home as an actual item and start. Every
awesome.
item you picked up in that game was also a housing item.
And if you crafted components, you could name them whatever, and then you could put them in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's awesome. They need to do that again.
Yeah.
So my mentor, an old professor, he played with us. He played a Wookiee, and we actually had some class. We were in the Imperial faction, and we had some stormtroopers die under command. He literally made a monument on his wall for the fallen troops that had gone with us and died. It was so awesome. Like he didn't need to do it, but it was
just so you could.
Yeah. And that hill over there, you put your house on it, that's your hill now.
The fact that you could actually make player-run cities with taxation and building stuff, and it was a game extremely ahead of its time, and there has literally been... I would love for somebody to make the exact same game with modern-day tech. I can't even imagine what that would be like. It would be phenomenal.
I will say, just like... Unify was saying the devs were really active.
Oh yeah,
because I was in a high PvP group and I was in my troll flamer mode.
I think Unify dropped something.
No, that's my fat cat jumping from one desk to another.
Oh jeez. Okay, sorry, Stray.
Oh, you're good. We did lure a dev there because he was disputing because somebody was being a crybaby with us, and the mayor then city banned him, city enemied him, and then we killed the dev right there, right there in the city streets, man.
Yeah, I think you told that. Yeah, and then they changed the rules of the entire game because somebody killed a developer.
it was a game master, but you get the idea.
Right.
It was still,
Yeah, GM.
it was a GM, but a man, he rolled in there, thought he was going to be cool. He happened to be Rebel, I believe. We were all Imperial. We're like, oh, yes, Rebel scum. We have a place for you. City band attack.
Oh, Jesus. Hellcat.
It was glorious, yeah. But no, it was a great game. You could go any place your town, and it was your town out there in the swamps of Rory or wherever it was. Little has been made like that since.
Nothing has been made like that since. Not to include all of that stuff in a scene. Like, pieces of that game have been across multiple MMOs, but nobody's put them all into one. And yes, Hellcat, I'm going to have to read that. There was a lightsaber hilt that looked like an adult item. I placed it next to the bed and named it Personal Massager.
That's amazing.
I know of what she speaks. I've seen it. I was like, oh, Lord.
Yep. And one last one last game. This is a Ash and Phoenix special, Matrix Online. Anybody here play that? Of course you didn't, because it was the Matrix Online. Defunct though it is, the RP community was actually really cool and really thriving. It was one of those ones that actually got me really interested in more roleplay for EverQuest 2 and games after that. Characters knowing that they were all in a simulated world let interesting RP that differs from basically all fantasy RP, even the RP you'd get in Secret World, because they knew they were in the future, but they were playing as though they were in the late 90s. They were also, for roleplay events, people were like DJs, like they were in-game DJs that would do dance clubs. So you could tune in to an online radio station, and this is before Twitch, so it was not as easy as it is today. They would be playing music. They would have like, hey, you're listening to DJ Vex. It's 409.9 The Urge, that kind of thing. And they'd be playing the music and the rave. There'd be raves. People were listening to it in the RP clubs, and like a song would come on, and women would be like, "I love this song. Let's dance!" And everyone would go onto the dance floor, just like in a club. So it was a very, very different experience, and the community was a mix of like serious partygoers and that, really haven't seen the like of since. And they also had the factions of like the Merovingian. There was the Machines, obviously, and then there was those people on Morpheus' side from Zion. So they had the three factions and thing. There was a lot of really cool stuff. The game was far from perfect. It was pretty clunky, but it was, for its time, I think until City of Heroes, it was before that, and you could do just like Neo would jump super high onto a building. There was skills like that you could, if you had a chase, like a roleplay chase, you'd literally be bouncing from building to building through the entire world, and it was a lot of fun. It was something that's, again, not really been done since, and it's definitely not something that would hold up well as most of the Matrix outside of the first one has. I
never got a chance to play it when it came out, man. So it's neat to hear about it.
And it was cool in that they continued. It was canon to the lore of the Matrix. The very first chapter was somebody killed Morpheus, and it was trying to find out who had killed him. And it even had Lawrence Fishburne reprising his role as Morpheus, voice acting it. So it was pretty cool. They were really good about that stuff. And the last thing, real quick here, was something somebody had brought up about the difference between PC and console. It was Jarn from over at RPHQ said, yet, in returning to my previous point, they'd made a previous point, RPing via PC is far more conducive. I said that right first time. Don't correct myself. Me. Of the RP community as opposed to console. Although there are diehard RP console players, it seems the RP is born of their actual playing in the game and then wandering about and finding the RP. A better example, PC RPers are more accepting of RP via outside the game means than console RPers whom need the RP to occur within the game as they play it, as that is the only true roleplay. And I can't roleplay on consoles. I don't get it. I don't do it in voice. Hooking a keyboard up to my console when I have a computer.
There's no point, man.
It's not gonna happen. I mean, I get it for people that only have a console and don't have a gaming PC. Not everybody can afford one. I mean, they're not cheap. Console, $300, $400, you're good to go. PC's kind of more expensive to play on games a little bit. I don't know if people are aware of that.
Depending on what game you play on a console, I think your RP is going to be short-lived. Let's just say you're playing Battlefront 2 and, hey, I'm Clone Trooper 56.
Right.
And we're going in there, and the droid killed me, and that's the end of my clone.
Well, like Final Fantasy XIV, you can actually, when you're playing Final Fantasy XIV, you're playing cross-console, I think. So there are sometimes you're playing with people on the PC that are in there playing on their PS4. And
did you ever notice when sometimes someone will say something to you and it'll be in like these little wavy brackets?
Right. Yep.
That's somebody on a console.
Yeah, and sometimes using
really?
the translator.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Yep. It's because they have a list of like a quick bar or whatever that they can choose certain things to say from.
It's like autocomplete kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they always have the little brackets around their word their.
It's one of the few games that actually allows cross-platform play. I like Elder Scrolls is on.
Well, no, I just noticed that some people use those brackets and some people don't, and I'm wondering if it doesn't come from that they may have started in consoles.
Could
so
be.
They still use brackets.
Well, no, these are the ones she's talking about in Final Fantasy. You know them when you see them. It's not bracket. It's like there's a little arrow that's red pointing up, and on the other side of the phrase, there's a little arrow that's blue
I thought you meant like the wavy
pointing
brackets.
down. No.
No.
That's
I didn't know what else to call them.
Yeah, no,
okay.
they're actually color coded, so you could they're nothing that you would ever find on a keyboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, but like ESO's on consoles, but you're not playing with PC gamers because console player playing against a PC player in ESO is going to get their ass handed to them. Sorry, you just are. There's a lot. It's console not nearly as Twitch friendly as
it's almost not as fair.
Yeah, it's as a mouse and keyboard. But all right, well, we've gone on long enough on this, but that's kind of where we came through with all they are very dynamic and they're all very different communities. Some of them no longer existing, but that's beside the point. So anybody, I imagine everybody's good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
50 minutes over the time frame. Well, you guys don't have anything going on tonight. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember, RPMMORadio.com/Discord if you want to join our Discord server, Twitch.tv/RPMMORadio if you want to follow us, just like Hellcat did during the show, which is why they are probably our favorite listener of the night. I'm going to give them the unofficial Player Listener of the Night award that I've just made up. They're the first and only so far to actually make that. Also, shout out there to Fanatical Sloth, who's been with us since the beginning of the show started and been talking the whole time. You're awesome. We appreciate that. Yeah. So, I do want to thank everybody for tuning in, including my crew for being here and being very patient with this. So, Jazz, Sib, Strafei, Yunfei, you guys are awesome, as always. I am Ashen Phoenix, and tune in next time when we'll go over why halflings don't form communities. They form cults. Let that sink in. Next time on RPMMORadio. Play on and keep the roleplay going. The thoughts and opinions of those on RPMMORadio are just that and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.